This is Devan Dubnyk. You're listening to Missin Curfew.
What's missing curfew? It's when you kind of play guilty, but you show up.
How nice is a green light on the road, though? No practice tomorrow, no plane, just go.
Scotty Upshaw in the clear, and he scores! Right in front, scores!
A few laughs, a little bit of fun, and obviously a lot of hockey talk.
You're listening to Missin Curfew.
Fellas, coming to you from Hall Pass Media in Newport Beach. This is Missin Curfew. We got Obes, Bradley, Benjamin, Stanley, Richardson, Jordan, Jay Swish, Smoltzy. Smoltzy, what are your middle names? You got a pair of middle names like Richie, or are you just rocking one fella? Let the people know. If we're talking middle names, what's your middle name?
Yeah, I heard Richie Bay's middle name the other day. What was it, like Benjamin?
Benjamin Stanley.
Benjamin Stanley. So that's a hell of a concoction 1-2 parlay there. But mine, Obes, is just a nice Irish name. Like my grandma on my mom's side, it's Patrick. So JP, I guess.
Strong.
Strong.
You know what? That explains a lot about you, that you got a good middle name like Patrick, eh? You're just a good laddie. That's where you get that ability to drink that one rock, is that middle name of Patrick. That's a good laddie's name there.
Yeah, one rock, Irish coffee. You know how it is, Obie.
Yeah.
So it's fitting for sure.
All right, boys, before we jump into it, we just got a promo curfew calls again. Listen, we got a lot of curfew calls in already. We need a few more, or we don't need them, but we'd love a few more. It's the first opportunity that we're going to have the whole squad together for these. Me, the Updog, Jay Swish, and Richie Fella. So keep them coming. They can be Christmas. They can be questions about your team. If you want to talk some New Year's stuff, whatever it's going to be, we're going to record back-to-back curfew calls next week. So please get them in by Monday of Tuesday next week. Boys, I can't wait for these. These are unbelievable. I'm sure you guys already have a pulse on our fans, right? Because Jay Swish, you go on the road with Scottsdale, Hockey Night Scottsdale. Richie, you've been around a long time. Like it's a bunch of beauties though, and when they call in, you realize like the listeners are guys.
Yeah, for sure. I think even though, you get on the road, you see some of these guys, obviously fans of you guys when you played. And then, sometimes, the internet's a crazy place. You meet people that maybe weren't even hockey fans before, but now they know the podcast, Obi. So it's cool. And I've always been a fan of the curfew calls, even dating back to when I wasn't even on the show with you guys. I would listen. And Obi, do you remember? I don't know if it made its way through your guys' producer at the time. I forget the guy's name. Or it wasn't Kyle or wasn't the Ice Pick, but I called in just shit-faced one night for a curfew call and actually recorded one on the Missin Curfew website. So if we can dig up the file somehow, it was last year right around this time, and I was shit-faced, and I left probably like a 2-minute curfew call, and I was hoping you guys were going to play it, but it never made the airwaves, and I would actually kind of want to know what I said, because I remember I was drunk, I was watching highlights late night, it was like 4 a.m, I don't know what the hell I was doing, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, fuck, I got to call into the boys. So if anyone has that, we can pull that up over at Hall Pass Media. Please to see. That'd be
please find that.
We'll try to track that down. But Rich, you're gonna love these curfew calls that come in, boys. It's right up your wheelhouse. It's just locker room guys, Rich.
No, I'm excited. We were in Pittsburgh there. We met a few of some big fans there, and there's a couple beauties who met there. I can't remember the guys' names, but they were awesome, and they were all decked out in the gear. And so yeah, it's exciting to I'm sure they'll have some good questions, and excited to get to know the fans a little bit better.
Yeah, there'll be some good questions, and then there'll be just some horrendous questions where you're like, what in the fuck was this guy saying or drinking, or where are you? Someone send an ambulance to make sure that guy's okay. What is he doing up in Winnipeg or Saskatchewan or wherever these boys are? And most of them take the Jay Swish approach. They're not sober, which is great. We encourage you to call in drunk. Like that makes it better, right, Swish? We encourage that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of the ones I remember listening to, even dating back to last year, like I was saying, like, guys smoking a left-handed cigarette, having 12 beers somewhere like Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan, just drunk as hell, calling in about their men's league team, Obi, or their old lady. Like, there's so many beauties that listen to this podcast. So it's a nice way to shine the light on those locker room guys who do listen, are just everyday guys that would fit right in with a crew like this, Obes.
Yeah, that's well said. And if you're looking for some advice, we'll give out some free advice too, right? Relationship advice, whatever you need here at Missin Curfew. It's a locker room mentality. We got all the answers, eh, Rich? We got all the answers here.
100%. Yeah, coming from a guy divorced, freshly married. Got all the answers for you guys.
He's good.
You're not proposing, are you? Well, think about it.
Yeah. You're doing what? You're not doing that, are you? Come on, give your head a shake. Back, bud. Hey, Richie, before we jump into more of the intro, welcome home. How was Shadow Creek? I loved your text, and we touched on this earlier in the week when you mentioned you were going there. And anytime there's private aviation where the bird can wait for you and you're in Vegas, some of the boys had the itch, and you had to, raggle the boys up and get them on the bird.
Oh my God, what a day! I just want to give a little shout out to my buddy Cody Burgat for setting the whole thing up and the plane and everything. So it was a pretty epic day, and yeah, the boys got obviously pretty loose on the golf course, and we were heading back, and some guys were like, you know what, I'm staying the night. And we had a rally about 2 or 3 guys, and they were calling their wives and like, boys, this is not going to go well here. So we ended up getting everyone on the plane home, which was good. But I'll tell you what, was I drunk as a skunk last night when I got home? And this morning was I hurt? And the only thing I could think of was me this morning. It was like, you got that like instant kind of regret in your life for like, what was I doing? And the scene I could think of was from that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Leo, he's in the trailer.
He's like, you forgot your fucking lines, but you practiced your fucking lines. You sound like a goddamn baboon.
Yeah, that's how I felt this morning. I was like, what's wrong with you? Just you get that drunk?
He could the best about that scene too. He's on his couch. He's like, "That's it. That's fucking it. I'm done fucking drinking. I'm never fucking drinking again." And he takes a shot out of his fucking flask. He's like, I mean, if we're talking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when he has to get up that morning and he shows up and he's hung cheese and he's spitting loogies. He's like, "Hey, Rick Dalton here. Where's the makeup trailer?" And they're like, "Just down there to the right." And then he gets in there and puts his head right in the ice bucket, and the director comes. He's like, "Sorry about the wet hands, but he is just hung cheese, Rich."
Oh yeah, that's exactly how I felt this morning, buddy. And I had to jump in my freezing cold pool.
That'll
just get some life back into me. But I'm back now. But it was not a fun morning getting the kids up at 6:30 to go to school.
Jay Swiss, you like that movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Is it one of your go-tos, or have you not watched it enough? Because if you haven't, I think you got to dig back in a bit. You'll like the little scenes that like that.
I hate to admit it to you, Obi, because you know I'm a movie guru type of guy, especially the classics. I haven't actually seen it all through, and I don't know a ton of the quotes, so I'm going to have to circle back on that one for sure.
Circle back on that one, and the movie itself, I don't know, Rich, the movie itself is it's okay. It's about the Manson family guy or the Manson guy, right? That was that
loose kind of rendition on that, yeah.
Now the last scene with Brad Pitt, and it's unbelievable. When he goes, "Is everybody okay?" He goes, "Well, the hippies sure aren't." well, the fucking hippies aren't. But the start of that, and Jay Swiss, you're a guy's guy. The friendship that Rick Dalton and the character Brad Pitt plays, Leo plays Rick Dalton and Brad Pitt, his stuntman, the relationship they have and the guy stuff is. That's what I love about that movie. Yeah, it's incredible. So
yeah, I mean it's a different movie, but yeah, check it out. And you got to see that. What's one of my favorite Leo scenes of all time? It's just him alone in his trailer, just snapping, and it's like a probably 2-minute rant he goes on. It's epic.
Yeah, they 8 whiskey sours because you're fucking drunk. It's
classic.
Classic.
Just 3 or 4 whiskey sours.
Speaking of having 3 or 4 or 8, 10 whiskey sours, second annual Aspen alumni game. Shout out again to Sheldonwood Whiskey, and shout out to our boy Brian Berard, the Beast. Is now the president of Colorado Extreme. Berard's been doing some hard work. But, boys, my gear is packed up. I went yesterday in my parking garage, jimmied her out, grabbed the gear out, laid her all out, made sure everything was there, put the underwear, washed it. So I'm ready to go. I got to find some fucking tape and cut my twigs because my twigs aren't cut. But I guess I can do that there, right?
Yeah, for sure. And Obi, I wanted to ask you, can we get a skate sharpening there? Can I get a 5/8? Can I get an inch from someone there? Am I going to have to take him over to somewhere here in Scottsdale and just have some guy just take the crossbow to him, and who knows what's going to happen?
Fair question. And I thought the same thing going in last year because I hadn't had my wheels sharpened in forever. Same, I guess, this year. It's been a year. There was a skate sharpening machine in there, and Dan Carbomb Carcillo was the one running it. It was like you just take the skate. Oh yeah, you take the skate off, and you just it was a kind of a portable one, and he just said, "Oh," he punched it in there, put my skate on, and he just let the sharpener do the work. So there was a sharpener on deck, and my edges felt pretty good, boys. So if I would suggest getting them done before, but if not,
I think I'm gonna get them done myself.
Yeah, it's Carbomb's on mushrooms doing my skates.
So talk about seeing the ball with Carbomb. Was it a manual one, Obi, or was it one of those automatic ones where you just have to put the boot in and the machine does the work? Or is Carbomb literally got the ketchup bottle out and pulling the old Hans from Mighty Ducks where, you fake the blood, you kind of go across the sharpener and, a little flesh out.
Yeah, no, he wasn't exactly fucking zing. It was you put the boot on there. He had to punch something in, though. He knew, he's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I don't even remember. 5/8, I guess."
I've seen them. You just throw them in there. They do the whole thing.
Yeah. So he pumped in 5/8, and I'm like, "You don't have to. You're not gonna ask me how much I weigh, do you? I don't have to put in that. You're not gonna say, hey." And then, sure enough, I went out there, and but it's a star-studded cast. I'm so excited. Both you boys are coming. 2 nights in Aspen is perfect for me too. Just in and out. maybe the altitude won't hit me when you're just in there that quick, huh? Won't even let it time to set in.
That's what we're hoping here for. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about that because I don't even know where my gear is. It's in my garage somewhere, but I got to find it. And I don't know where my sticks are. I have to grab maybe one off the back wall here, maybe the Bobby Orr stick. But
Yeah, you got one sign there, Rich. Oh, fuck Crosby's stick. I'm going to have to use it. Exactly.
Jay Swish, somebody, Rick Barry, the old beauty that's played for the Avs, Rick Barry, you guys will meet him this weekend. He was asking about the squad of the other team this year, and I mentioned all the names, and I said, Bears, the guy to watch out for is Jay Swish. Schmaltz, he's young. He's still in good shape. He fucking rides the Peloton at watts that I've never even seen. Like, are you looking to come out there and have the puck on your stick all night and dictate the pace of play, or what is your mindset heading into this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just happy to get the invite for Team North America, as I'm calling it. We're playing the Avalanche alumni, so Team North America's coming in hot. Listen, I just want to get the puck and distribute it and facilitate it at a level of, a good point guard, Obi. So I'm coming in there, I would say, and just try to get the puck in the hands of a guy like Danny Heatley. Or maybe have it, have Uppy at the far blue line tipping one in, because he said, I think he's wearing the shoulder pads to take the body as a F1. But yeah, for sure. I mean, my game, Obi, was always the silky smooth defenseman, lacked on the defensive side, commitment to boxing guys out probably wasn't there. But when the puck is on my stick, I like to think I'm like a young Jason White Chocolate Williams. I can see guys all over the sheet. So we'll see, man. I haven't been on the ice in like 4 months, but when I was out there earlier this summer with 34 Kells and those guys, I felt good. So
like
we'll see.
You were skating with National Leaguers, like. But wait till I let my boy old Richardson just go F1 there and just release the hounds and he's barking at you and he's tapping his twig and he's squeezing you into a place where he wants to squeeze you. Next thing you know, you're trapped in there. Hey boys, she's a tight rink too. It's a defenseman's paradise. It's not very wide, so it's tight quarters.
You're probably not going to leave the front of the net, are you?
No. Well, I jumped into play a couple times last year. Like if you're like, let's say you got the puck on your stick and I'll jump up to try to make some magic with you, but I only jumped up a couple times with Pronto once. But I do play the power play. I put myself on the first unit power play. That's non-negotiable. Quincy,
they're actually calling penalties out there.
There was a couple penalties last year.
Is this a full game? Is this 20 minutes?
This is 3 20-minute periods.
Yeah, 3 20-minute periods.
Running time.
Okay, that's nice.
Hey,
yeah.
thank God.
Obi, are you going no bucket warm up? Is that legal in here? You got to be grandfathered in for that.
Oh yeah, there's no bucket 100%. Maybe a Missin Curfew toque depending on the temperature. It said something like 35. Is that that seems chilly?
That's a little that's nippy. That's a little nippy.
I might go no bucket for the whole game, Obes. You know what? Let's go back T.
Yeah,
T with it,
buddy. Brian Berard, all he wears is a toque out there and his fucking reading glasses, Kit's reading glasses. I'm like, Berard, and the crazy fucker went down and blocked a shot last year. Like, no bucket, one knee. I'm like, Berard, fella. I went by the bench. I'm like, buddy, come on. Like if that ever hit you, we can't have that happening. But Berard goes no bucket. The only other guy to go no bucket, I've only played 3 of these games. One was for ALS. We lost our boy Shuppy. Downtown Jimmy Dowd, no bucket at all. Yeah, tongues flying on his Bauer 200s, and it was just, and he looked great out there with no bucket. But you got to wear a bucket, I think, Rich. No.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll play game time decision.
Okay, I like that. Well, if we're up late, you're gonna have to borrow a bucket for someone because you're gonna be killing penalties, especially if they pull the goalie 5-on-6. I need you.
Well, I'll tell you, I will be getting in the shot lanes. I know that.
Yeah,
but
you wait till you see, and I would say this. I will say this to him. I said to him, wait till you see how hard up he goes in these games, boys. Like that's why he wears shoulder pads. Like it's like, buddy, it's unbelievable. He's got his kids there. He's trying to show off in front of his kids. When you see it, remember I said this because it is. Take the cape off Shaw is what I say.
Oh,
is he a hazard out there?
He's a fucking Oh yeah, he's a hazard out there.
Wow, I kind of like that he's on my team then, boys. I really do.
He's got shoulder pads.
So he might get a little lumber on the old wrist.
Yeah. No, yeah, he's gonna get a whack from me too, 100%. So Colorado Extreme, it's for a great cause. Thank you again, Sheldon Nowitzki and Brian Berard. Beast have been doing great jobs. Jay Swish, I saw you hitting the slopes there with the Ocho Cinco tarp on. And did I see you correctly that he gave you a little repost there? Did he respect you? That's nice.
Yeah, so I've posted about my Ocho Cinco jersey a couple times now, and every time I throw it out there, Obi, he'll repost it on Instagram, he'll retweet it. So Ocho does love it. It's kind of cool. I mean, listen, it's not that big of a deal, but when Ocho sees that, and I'm on the hill in that 85 card jersey, it was awesome. But Park City, boys, pretty nice. Only 2 hills or runs open right now, so that wasn't perfect, but we were able to kind of capture the spirit of it. My buddy, obviously, as you know, friend of the show, the Heat Daddy, actually was in the no tarp on the hill. for a couple runs there. So selling the game that way, boy.
Bobby Gucci?
Bobby Gucci was tarps off on the hill, so he was looking good. But it was good. Park City, though, in terms of just, skiing different places, Obi, I would say it's not that steep, eh? Like if you like a nice, easy run, I know you're a Groom Blue type of guy. Like you could probably do that pretty drunk. Obviously ski at your own risk, but in terms of Jackson or Aspen Highlands, I was surprised of even the runs that weren't open. It's pretty moderate there, fella.
No, yeah. If you can ski Aspen, Ajax, and Highlands as well, but Ajax especially, you can ski anywhere. It is. I mean, you'll see it when we're in the village this weekend. Like it is literally like that the whole way down. It's just if you're going in, even the Groom Blues, Britchie, are a little icy. Like you got to be careful out there.
Yeah, you'll do the old what do they call that? The snow plow down or whatever.
Yeah, the old fucking
pizza French fry.
Why was it? Is there no snow up there right now?
Yeah, there's no snow. It was all brown. It was just a lot of Jim Brown, not a ton of snow. That literally they had, Rich. It was only 2 runs open. It was crazy.
That's not good. That's not.
And when you're looking around, it was literally like it's a shitty color of brown. So I'm going back up there for Christmas, and I want to ski again. But if there's only 2 runs open, and I'll probably take.
You're hoping, yeah, they need a big dump or something.
Yeah, they do. 100% they do. So we'll see. We got a couple weeks here.
You know when you and Bobby Gucci you gotta get up there for Sundance.
That's what
they were telling us.
Yeah, that's when you and Bobby Gucci
grab your camera guy and you go in there and you film it and you get into the parties, which everybody can help you out with. But like I've never been to the dance, but that's the time where the girls come in from LA and like a young single guy like yourself, that's when you want to go in there and rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, I don't know, man, like Utah in general, it just has a different vibe. I'll be like, I'm not looking to, have a shot every other minute, but like I need a double at least in my drink. There's just a lot of different goofy rules there. You know what I mean? Like it definitely doesn't throw as hard as some of these other ski or mountain towns.
No.
But decent. It's nice, but it's just like when I want to take it to that next level, I don't know if that city has it for me.
No, and do you still have to order food every time you order a drink? I went there with Loops back in the day. And every time we wanted a cocktail, we had to order something. Like, I mean, we just ordered chicken wings and didn't even eat them. I probably had a couple, but you know what I mean? Like, you always had to order food with your drink. It's like, I don't want food. I want a double JMO on the rocks with a lime, fella.
I know, and it's the weird rules too. So if you're like a restaurant liquor license, you do have to order food with it. If you're a bar, now they can get away with it. But at the same time, you can get a single drink and a shot on the side, but it can't be the same. You couldn't order like an old fashioned with a sidecar of whiskey. It'd have to be like a vodka because they don't want you mixing it up. Just it's 2025. Let me fucking throw. Come on.
Folks, listen to this, guys, about Utah. So we went there on a golf trip last May or whatever. We get to the golf course. It's that Black Desert one. They played a PGA event there this summer. We couldn't even get a cocktail, a beer, nothing. They didn't serve booze at the golf course.
What?
Swear to God. So we had to go send like this guy out. He went to the beer store and got us a case of beer, but they served no beer at a golf course. We're like, what the heck are you talking about?
That is un-Canadian and un-American and
it's insanity, man.
Everything.
I've never seen guys more disappointed.
Just not even mad, just disappointment on their face. Like it's like when I went to fucking the Notre Dame football game. I don't know. I just went in there and I was like, all right, boys, I'll grab the booze. And I'm looking around and dry stadium. I never got the memo. I was like, I think I stayed for a quarter and left. I'm like, I'm not sitting in here watching college football, not drinking. Back on the Sprinter bus, boys.
Yeah, that's a lot of college games. I did that too at a college basketball game. Same thing. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Fuck.
But,
hey? Well, Jay Swish, you caught a hell of a hockey game there, fella. I was watching it while I was watching some other games. Your boy, Nicky Schmaltz, I got to respect him. November's over, and he still got that greasy little duster going, a clean shave with the greasy duster. And like you said, he needed a little Cialis to get that up on the 2-on-1, which was a great pass from Logan Cooley. And I got to give, I think it was Rossi credit. Rossi back-checked like a motherfucker to put a little pressure on your bro. But what a hockey game. Unfortunately, Minnesota got it done. But how are the fans there? So they still look like they're enjoying it, to me, what I saw on ESPN.
Yeah, first off, that duster is unbelievable. And that was ultimately, Obi, what got him out of the slump. You know what I mean? In terms of getting back off the schneid, scoring a few goals. So he just reapplied a little Just for Men, I think, in there, maybe a little bit of Sharpie, and then shaved the sides. So that thing's looking feathered and lethal, one would say. But yeah, it was a good game. The fans, now listen, it's pretty good, but at the same time, they do have on both sides will be those seats that are still obstructed in terms of viewing the whole entire ice. So those don't fill up as much. There's probably 11, 12,000 people there that night. A good crowd nonetheless. I think once they kind of, fix that, it'll be really good. But that building is loud. When they score, when they're excited, it gets rocking. That's no joke. So the fans were good. Smitty was sitting on the glass. And yeah, man, Minnesota, for what they have right now with a few bodies banged up, like Johnny Hines, they play a tight system, boys. It's dots and out. They don't give up a whole lot in the fucking neutral zone. Yeah, it's that 1-3-1, and then they collapse. Yeah, it's painful to watch, but it works. Forces a lot of turnovers.
Are they playing the 1-3-1? Is that what they're playing?
Well, that's a Heinze special, man. He was my coach in Nashville for that year, and I've never played that system. I was playing I played some wing, and you have to go back and retrieve a puck on a rim if you're the left winger. I'm like, what? I'm not going back to get that puck.
That's not good for anybody.
Let's go get a ball. I know.
That's not good for the D, the winger, anybody. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah, then you have to bump it back to the D. He's like, here's your plays. You bump it back to the D, or you eat it. But he's like, that's your puck every time. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Heinze?
I do.
You should be able to play that 1-3-1. Remember, I was texting you during the game, like, Minnesota. It's just such a boring brand of hockey, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the game was exciting because it ended up being 5-4, but like Richie said, like, they just sit back and they make you beat them through the neutral zone with 3 or 4 passes. If you were able even to do that, most of the time, though, it's just a dump in, as you know, Richie, and then you go retrieve the puck, and then they just flip it out. They must have flipped, I would say, north of 50 burgers. Like, it was like in and out at 10 p.m. It was crazy.
That's what he promotes. You get it back, and the D just flip it and get rid of it. I'm like, what the hell kind of hockey is this? And it's just boring. It's not like, most guys like to be on their toes and playing. I hate sitting back and waiting. It's painful.
That's not your bread and butter. Eh? You like to go a bit over your skis a little bit. Get going. Hey, get going here. You want me to what? Go back for a biscuit? I want to get on the forecheck here, fella.
Like, what does this even make sense? It's so unnatural for a winger to do that, right? So
yeah, I hate the 1-3-1 too. And I think I didn't even know. I guess I haven't been paying close enough attention to the Wild. I just watched Kirill Kaprizov out there, and that Boldy's nasty, and that Faber's nasty. But when I think 1-3-1, I think LA Kings. That's what they play. And I try to watch Kings games at times. They switched it?
I think they switched it now to Kings, but that was the Todd McClellan thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so but to me, I just remember, do you remember the play? This is when we were in the league, Rich. Guy Boucher was coaching the Lightning, and I'm watching the game, and they're playing, I think they were playing like a 1-4 or something, where they just stopped, and Prongs just stopped skating, and everyone wasn't skating. I remember like watching the game being like, this is not good for escrow. This is not going to help move the needle for the boys.
Did they not like blow that down or something?
No, they just
after a while.
Eventually, I think they did blow it down.
Because it was like, let's play hockey here. I think Prongs was making a point. Like, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, Prong was making a mockery of it, being like, what are we doing out here?
Yeah. And I remember that. That was like, it was sad actually for the game. I was like, what are we doing? We're trying to sell this game to people and this is how we're playing.
Yeah. All I could think about was escrow. I'm like, this is not good. This is not good for escrow here. We got like, come on, she's at 8% now. If we keep this up, before you know it, she'll be at 16 on the boys. But Jay Swish, when you landed back in Scottsdale, you were posting about you're already. I know it's tough for you, but you're ready for a team to be back, and I'm kind of with you. Like, it's so unfortunate. I love Ryan Smith and everything he's doing for Utah, and I think that will be successful there, obviously. But it's not the same without a team in the desert. I will say that it's for how much we chirped at being in Glendale and the iconic mullet, as you said. It's not the National League without Scottsdale, baby.
No, and listen, you're looking at a guy right now that played 5-6 years here, and Brad Richardson, and he played in Glendale at the time. But Richie knows better than anyone. And even being a local myself here with my brother playing here and coming in to play a couple times Obi, this is the 5th biggest city in the U.S. It is a hockey market if you do put the arena in the right place. It's not rocket science here, fellas. And if you have an owner that is able to actually care about winning and make a good quality product, this city and then the league needs this city. I mean, this is a great market. It's unbelievable to live, as you know, especially during the hockey season, those months, 7-8 months of the year. And I just think, I get back from Utah, and it's great what they're doing there. Ryan Smith has done an unbelievable job, and I still think they're going to continue to grow that thing out once everything comes together. But here, I'm just looking at, I landed, Obes, and I'm like, how is there not a team here, man? Like, this is such a destination for guys to not only live, but to want to play. And how could you not have a good team here? Like, you're waking up in the desert, Obes, and this sunshine, and even where you're at, the bones and the joints, they feel good, baby. You're not getting in and going the credit card on the windshield in Calgary and scraping that 3 inches of ice off. Fuck, you're waking up. You're tan. You got the flip-flops on. Life's good, baby.
Well said, buddy. And I for me, it's a sad when they moved. It was really sad for me. Obviously playing with this team and loving this, loving this place and calling it home and all that. But I think, like you said, if they get a good owner that wants to win, this is a top 3 place easily in the league to play. And that and if there's so much hockey here, the kids, there's youth hockey. People love hockey here. If you try to get the local rink at the ice stand, try to get an ice time there. You can't.
Yeah.
It's booked solid. I mean, it's really sad, and I hope you're right. I hope something comes back here soon, Swish, and I think it will.
Yeah, I think it will too. And obviously, it starts with ownership. But whoever the new owner that they get, and we're going to say that we believe it's going to come back, I think you got to get the alumni involved in. Yeah, you got to get the fucking alumni involved if you want to make Shane Doan GM, and then Donor would hire guys like Brad Richardson or Darcy Hordichuk or fucking Tyson Nash. Ray Whitney. I mean, just guys that played there. Get them involved in the organization. I don't think you want Darcy Hordichuk making hockey decisions, maybe, but you know what I'm saying here, Rich? Like, they have a great alumni there. If this does come back, and they're going to be itching even more, the fans and everyone, I just think with the quality of the alumni guys there, Rich, the new ownership, when that day does come, they got to get those boys involved.
And I think when I do, and I pray for this to happen. I mean, Shane Doan needs to be the leader, like you said. He needs to be GM or the president or something, because he is the face of hockey in the desert. And if you talk to any person in the desert, they know Shane Doan's name. Even if they don't follow hockey, they know Shane Doan because he was here for so long, 20 years or whatever it was. And like you said, there's so many guys that live here that have good hockey minds, and they care about their organization. They care about the Coyotes, and they want to be part of it, and they want to see it done right. So any good team, we always talk about Stoley and the Kings, but they've surrounded, like Rob Blake, they've surrounded themselves with so many good and great people, great players, that there's such a level of pride with that organization, and the players coming in, they see all the former guys that won cups and all that. So to have, a really good franchise, you need those people around who can show the kids the way to do it right.
Yeah, that's well said. And I think we should maybe start the petition now, eh? Should we all sign it? I'll send it to you, boys. Hey, we'll pass it around. Pass it around the clubhouse, boys.
Here's to the Sunshine State.
We got to get a team back in Scottsdale, boys, eh? Well said by both you guys that love Scottsdale and love that hockey club. Hopefully someday we'll be going back to games there at a nice new barn with a nice luxury box and an open tab, hopefully, eh, boys? So last but not least here, Swish Dog, a lot of the intro is just me following you on social media. I'm clearly a fan. You posted live in 5 about Joe Burrow. His house got broken into in Cincy, which isn't a funny thing, but what I did think was somewhat amusing, I guess, is when he came to his press conference, he's like, first of all, he's like, I got something I want to say. Like, anytime a pro athlete comes out and says, I'm going to start the conversation, you're like, interesting. And he basically, from what I said, and Jay Swish, you jump in here next, but like, he was more rattled that it was out that this Rocket Sports Illustrated model was at his house. He's like, my privacy's been interrupted. To me, I think he was rattled about his bullpen, like you said, fella.
For sure, Obi. I don't know if he really cared about, whatever they stole at his house. Maybe they broke into the safe. I think he was more mad that now his bullpen, maybe one of those gals that was a starting pitcher, now knows about another girl. You know what I mean? It's just like, because you think he was recently engaged. Now, listen, we're not People's Magazine over here, even though I am the People's Insider, digging into Joe Burrow's off ice or off the field, relationships. I think he was engaged. Maybe that kind of went sideways. Now he does have a bullpen. But Obi, when he came into that press conference, you could just tell, like, nothing about it was about the burglary or getting robbed. It was all about maybe just exposing a little bit of his bullpen. And you could tell he was rattled, fella.
Yeah. Rich, he was rattled.
Why wasn't she not to the game?
The game was in Dallas.
Oh, game was in Dallas. Okay.
Yeah. So she was in there. I'm assuming like she was probably in there the whole weekend, right? Like Monday nighter, they probably left Saturday. She's probably like, hey, babe, I'll see you Monday. Take care of the place. If you need something, the maid's over there, the cook's over there, and do your yoga and Pilates. I'll see you Monday night after I sling it around AT&T Stadium. But if you're, I'm going from the female's perspective now. If you're in Joe Burrow's bullpen, I'm assuming you're probably a good looking girl, so you probably have a decent bullpen yourself. Like Joe's not your only option. If you're banging Joe Burrow, I'm sure you probably got some baseball players in there. Maybe somebody from the association. Who knows, a national leaguer. I think you can't be giving him a hard time. Unless he's promising these girls, Jay Swish, that they're the only one, which I don't know. But I think they got to just be like, okay, it is what it is. He's making whatever, 40 bananas, good looking cat. I know I'm not the only girl in the bullpen.
Yeah, and I always tell guys and gals this. Forget about a little life advice here. Is every girl always has a dude until there's a better option, right? So you know what I mean. Like whatever Burrow's telling her, I just think Joey Burrow kind of got caught in a pinch between maybe this gal. He was seeing her for a little bit, but he probably has a couple other ones that are could come out and throw a mean cutter. Oh, you have a nice two seam. It's just Burrow. Just you could tell in his face he was just disappointed that news was out there, and now he's got to go back to the drawing board. He's got to send a few texts he probably doesn't want to send. Like, I still love you, baby, over here, but at the same time, I got to clean up a mess at home right now as well. So it is what it is for Burrow. All press is good press, though, Obi. You know that.
Yeah, and I think maybe he has something cooking that is like next level. Like maybe somebody that was like, he didn't even think he could get, and he's been working her on the side. And she hasn't quite given up to him yet. So he still has, he's a man. He has needs. He's starting quarterback. So he's got, the bullpen. And now maybe this situation has the one that he didn't think he could get. Now she's probably pissed and not talking to him. He's like, I had this girl on the ropes. And now this burglar comes in and now I got pinched like this.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's a great analysis. I think philosophy. I think you're right. He's probably chasing one down while having some stuff on the side, and now it's like, that big fish.
Yeah,
that came off the hook for a few days.
Yeah, she might have got away on him.
She might have got away. Now she's texting.
But look at this girl though. I just pulled her up. Oh, she's hot. Oh, geez, it's not bad. It's not.
Central scouting.
You wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers, would you? You wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers. Yeah, you say get some dip there, baby. Whatever you want, come on in. But I will say this too, and Jay Swish, you make a great point, is every girl has a guy to a better guy. Because you know how many times in my career I would, working this girl from LA or whatever, and sorry, I'm just really busy with work. Oh no, sorry, come on, no one's that busy. If you want to see the big fella and you want me to come up the 405, then let me know. But you can tell when you're getting the runaround from some of these, LA Instagram chicks. Like you're just like, hey, cut me straight. But that's how they kind of let you down softly. Like, hey, sorry, I'm busy. I got a work event. I got to shoot. And you're like, fuck off. Come on now. Hey, Rich.
I don't know how any girl get away from you, buddy. When you put that fence up on a girl, you lock her in like I've never seen in my life, and I love it. You get those big paws around her, and she's not going anywhere.
Oh no! Once I get her in my radius, then it's
you pull her in. I've seen that at Leafs place too many times.
That's 2005 Jaromir Jagr like puck protection. You're not getting it off them.
You're not getting it no matter what you do.
No, I've worked hard to get this position, to gain this position. This is my ice. This is my ice here. I'm not giving this ice up. So
you're entitled to it too. This is up to throw ice.
I used to tell Timmy Peel and Paul, this is my ice, Devo. How's that interference? This is my ice, but. Joe Burrow, keep your head up, buddy. Things are going to be all right. There's lots more out there, fella. But Jay Swish, great job. We'll be right back at Missin Curfew. Welcome back to Missin Curfew. DraftKings, baby. Presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Fellas, Saturday night, lock of the night in Top Titty. We got some big games Saturday night, Rich, and you got one circled on your calendar, or schedule, I should say. Rematch of the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals, the Vancouver Canucks versus the Boston Bruins. I remember this one very, very vividly. The Canucks beat me out in the second round in Nashville, and I was just sitting back going, tell me they're not going to do this to me, Rich. They're not just going to win the cup and march around Van City on me.
Well, and that's why we remember this. I think me and you were living together that summer too.
Yeah. Because
I've never seen a guy cheer against the team as much as you were cheering against Van. And I was as well because, we had such a rivalry in LA, and then you guys beat us the year before. You were playing for Van the year before. And then you guys beat us out in the playoffs, ended our season. But the arrogance of that Canucks team, and you were on that you guys are all just arrogant assholes. But you guys never shut up. Like, it was the Burrows. Oh, yeah. Kessler. It was just, you hated that team. Every team in the league hated that team with a passion. So to see them lose was like, like winning the cup yourself almost.
Yeah.
And I went and played for them a couple years later. But that was one of the highlights. And I just remember that me and you were just watching those games, just cheering so hard for Boston.
Yeah, I remember when you signed with Vancouver, and listen, playing on those guys' teams, you love having them on your team, and as you would admit, and you hate playing against them, right? They're that same way. I just remember telling you, you're not going to play for the LA Kings here. It's a different kind of team. You know what I mean? Like what you guys had in LA of a brothership, in Vancouver, it wasn't so much that, in my opinion anyways, but we had that of everybody hates us, and that kind of brought us together. That everybody else hates us so much, boys, we have to stick together.
Yeah, I don't, in my whole career, I've never seen a team hated so bad as that Vancouver Canucks team.
Oh, yeah.
And then going to play for them, I swear to God, when I signed them, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I hate these guys. Like, I hated them so much. Going in that locker room, seeing like Biesca and Kessler, all these guys, I literally wanted to fight them. You know what I mean? That's how bitter our rivalries were in the playoffs and stuff against each other. So, and we swept them out in LA the year we won. So we had this, we kind of both hated each other, a lot of guys in that room, but we obviously came to be good friends and teammates, but that just, the hatred was insane.
Yeah, no, I had that when I left there. I played him in the playoffs in Nashville. I finally just, in a TV timeout, looked at Biesca and was like, let's fucking go jump over the boards. And clearly, he didn't. He was playing big minutes. He didn't want to do it. And then, I went to Colorado and I had Alex Burrows' face. I was trying to push it literally through I was trying to smash his face through the ice. Like, I was trying to fucking as hard as I could. But when you play with those guys, as you know, Rich, you love them. But when you talk about that run, playing against you guys in the playoffs was like, I loved it, but at the same time, like, I knew you and, obviously I'd known Stoley and whatever, but it was fun to compete against you guys. But I'll never forget when I fought Wayne Simmons in Game 6. I told Simmer, Game 1 at Rogers Arena, or our GM place back in the day, we're warming up, and I look at him, I go, there's no way. I don't know who's going to win this series, but there's no way you're going to get out of this series without fighting me, Simmer. There's no fucking way. Eventually, I'm going to get you. And he was young then. Sure enough, Game 6, we're up like 7-2, and out comes Simmer. He goes, let's go. I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't not go this guy. I literally told him we'd have to go. Like, I'm running out of games here. And whatever, we have a good tilt, and I kind of pimp it in front of the crowd. I look over, and Richardson and Stoley are just motherfucking me. Fuck you, Obi. Fuck you, Obi. Fucking you fat fuck. Fuck you. I'm just like fucking giving it one of these. And then after the game, who was your coach? Andy Murray?
Yeah, Andy Murray at the time. Yep.
Yeah. So Andy Murray, they ask him, they're like, so what did you think about the fight at the end of the game? And the guy goes, what do you mean? O'Brien acting like the clown that he is? That didn't, he said that. He goes, that didn't surprise me. O'Brien acting like the clown that he is. And then to parlay it switched, they go to AV. AV comes in to do his presser. They're like, hey, AV, Andy Murray just called O'Brien a clown. What do you think of that? And he goes, oh, yeah. I mean, what can you do? Next, I was like, holy fuck here, boys. They same team here, same team. But when you talk about 2011, you couldn't be more right. And like I said, they beat me out, but I'll never forget. Game 7, I go to goal in Hollywood, Connolly's old spot. Me, Cons, and Loops. And I walk in there, and sure enough, there's Canucks fans. And they're like, oh, hey, here we go, Obi. Like, I go, I got to be honest with you guys. I am cheering against you motherfuckers. And all I kept saying the whole game was Timmy fucking Thomas. Timmy Thomas. He was just kicking, boys. It would have been hard for me. It happened to me once, Jay Swish. I got traded in Anaheim, and they went on to win the mug. I don't know if I could have handled it again for a team to trade me, and especially in Vancouver where I could just imagine how much fun they're having. I don't know if I could have handled it, fella. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're preaching to the choir there. That year in St. Louis in 2018-19 when they won the mug. Yeah, I played 20 out of the 40 games, made the team out of camp, was there until about February, and then I wasn't playing a little bit and kind of asked for a trade or whatever. I was like, hey, if there's another situation, I'd like to go somewhere else. Ended up put on waivers, down to the jungle, San Antonio, and I'm watching those games on the couch, and I'm happy for those guys. It'll be at the same time, but that stung watching it. I was like, holy fuck, man.
I was
even just being a 7th, 8th defenseman on that team would have been nice.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
And the thing about it, is I was so happy for Dustin Penner and Ryan Getzlav and Corey Perry and all the guys in Anaheim. It was different in Vancouver. I don't know how happy I would have been for really any of them. And I loved playing with them. I would have been extremely jealous. But Rich, let me ask you this. You won the first one in LA. Did you have any of that when they won the second one, or does it take the sting away when you've already got one under your belt and you're like, good for you boys, I'm glad you got another one? Or was there still part of that? I'd like to be out there again.
You know what? It was, for me, I got the first one. Then the next year we went to the Western Conference Final and we lost to Chicago, and they went on and won. But that next year it was, I was a free agent, and for me, for my career, I had to leave, and I probably, if I wanted to stay, could have stayed, but I needed to go play, and Vancouver gave me that opportunity to, become a third line center and play, and I wasn't going to get that in LA. So for me, I was happy where I was because I was finally getting in the role I wanted to be in. But I was so happy for all my buddies, obviously, but a little bit of jealousy, I'm sure. You know, I would have loved to be a part of it because I love that team, all the guys. But I was actually super happy for them, and But there's always jealousy when you want to win. Everyone wants to win, and it's super hard to win. Like there's a lot of timing, and like Swish just said, like you're trying to do something good for your career, and maybe you kind of regret it in the end. Who knows? It's tough to really predict how it's going to play out your career. So, but Ogs, if you would have let that second one, Ogs, that's why we were cheering so hard because I didn't want to see you go through that because that's and you were a great Canuck too. You played really well, and I don't get why they moved you because you were kind of what they needed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's kind of ironic that they got rid of Hordichuk and myself, and then against Boston they threw Thordy in, and Hordy would have went Thordy right away.
That's what I mean. They got,
I could have calmed down. I would
have
have probably had to fight that big D man. What was his name? Right-handed D or Luch. I would have had to fight. That would have been a handful too.
It wasn't Miller. Was it Boyd?
Yeah, Kevin Miller?
McQuaid.
Oh,
McQuaid.
McQuaid.
Yeah,
Oh
McQuaid.
God, the Maritimer.
You know what? It would have been or Luch, and I never fought Luch, and I never really wanted to, and I think he had enough respect for me that. He didn't really ever chase me around or anything, but those would have been 2 hard fights for me. But what you're saying, Rich, is they kind of, especially Hordy and to get rid of him when you had a tough guy that could play in the playoffs, and then they go out in the final. That's exactly what they needed.
They got pushed around in that final, right? Boston was bullying him, and you still had Lapierre and those guys, but they're not intimidating players. They're just rats,
Yeah.
So I thought they were missing that toughness, and I didn't get when they traded you. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? And you were such good player there. The city loved you. So it is, but I was happy they lost that one.
Yeah, so was I. I couldn't just see AV, although I do like AV, but to see him hoisted too would have stung a little. I would have been happy for Bones. Rick Bonus I would have been happy for, and the trainers I would have been happy for, and there are some guys in that team, but thank God, all I got to say is Timmy Thomas. But getting back to DraftKings, top titty fellas, congrats to the winner, T-Stud, 153 points. I had a tough showing. I was 50th. Updog was 15th. The captain Brento 29th. Kyle, another tough week for you, bud?
Yeah, bud. It's like a roller coaster, up, down, up, down. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I'm going too top heavy with my superstars down the middle. I got to balance out my checkbook a little bit, but
And it's tough with the goalies. They're just too expensive, You got nothing left at the end.
the goalies are way too expensive. But get in there, boys. Top titty, stay under the cap. The more guys that get in, the more money we have. So, which brings us to our, speaking of money, DraftKings lock of the week. Here's the official standings right now, or records for the boys. Not standings, we're on the same team. I'm 7-2. Updog, the week off came the perfect time for the Updog. He's now 4-4. He's lost 3 straight, so a night off for him is perfect. Jay Swish 4-1, and Richie was 3-2. And Richie, this sums you up as a team guy. We're on the group text, the Mr. Curfew fella group text, and you got Vegas as your lock of the night. And you're just fired up that Nick Schmaltz gets off the schneid, and you're like all fired up about that. And I'm like, it's your lock of the night. You're like, I don't care. I'm glad Schmaltz is doing well.
Well, I mean, he's such a good player, and he just was kind of snake bitten. It's just one of those starts you pray you don't have kind of in the goal scoring department. But he was playing some great hockey, and you were just praying he'd get one because once he gets hot, he gets cooking. But the thing about that is too, as I text Kells that night too, I was pumped. I'm like, you set up Schmaltz for one, and he sure enough did for his first goal, and I couldn't have been happier for Schmaltz. He's such a good dude. So, yeah. What do you always, Jay Swish, what do you always put out on X? Shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot?
Yeah, that's what our dad told us from day one. Whatever sport you're playing, Obi, if you're in the corner lining up a 3 on the hardwood or you're on the ice, shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot, baby, because once you get hot, you can ride that heater, boys. You know it. Once you see one go in, and especially guys like that are goal scorers, I wouldn't know anything about it, but those guys see it, and now that net, that 4x6, starts looking like a soccer net, and you start picking corners. So I was happy to see that too.
I wouldn't know anything about that either. Although Richardson, didn't you get 4 one night in Vancouver or 3? Did you get a hat trick? What was that?
I had 3 hat tricks in my career, but I had 4 goal night. Yeah, I had 4 goal night against the Canucks at home in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hit 2 posts too. I could have had 6.
Yeah.
I was cooking that night.
I think that's right when you met Jess. I was texting Connolly. I'm like, Richie had 4, and that's what happens when you get a nice new hot chick in your life. You get 4 just like that, eh?
So you know what was funny? Her whole family came to town. Never seen a hockey game in their life. Yeah, I get them a suite for the game. They're kind of like, hey, I'll get us a goal tonight. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of hard to score, and that's not really my job. And I just get cooking. I score 4 goals, and they're all there. It was actually a really cool night, and their family still talks about it. But it was a special night. But yeah, Jesse got me going that year.
Yeah. Hey, nice girl do that. Get you feeling a little lighter, get the legs going. Shakira, get the hips moving a bit. But listen, we're 18-9 as a squad here. We're still officially making you money. Richie, you got the most games. You got a Stanley Cup. Set the tone here for us. Who you got in your lock of the night?
Saturday night lock of the week for me is the Colorado Avalanche. They're starting to cook. They're at home against those Nashville Predators who just can't seem to get any momentum. So I'm going to take the Avs over the Preds Saturday night.
Yeah, I like that bet. I'm going to take the Avalanche tonight. We're recording on Thursday against Nick Schmaltz and the hockey club. I think the Avs are going to start cooking, especially at home here. So for the fellas out there that are looking to bet, I think the Avalanche in the second half and in the new year here are going to be a good bet. And when you talk about the Preds, you know, the Calgary Flames have been playing great, but when the Flames come in and beat you at home 4-3, it's just like, you know, what do you say if you're Bruno? Like, what you don't even say anything. You just come to the rink the next day and practice, right? You don't say anything.
I think, yeah, you come the next day, you say, get your work boots on today, fellas, and then you have one of those one-on-one battle practices that we all hate, you know, and you're just like, oh, you come out of it, your body's sore, everyone's pissed off. Guys are, you know, they almost need a practice scrap or something to get the boys going.
No, they need a practice.
Nothing going right there.
No, and the thing about it is, and I got to give Bruno credit. After the game, he had to go out and do an interview, and he answered all the tough questions. I was like, that's an interview that he probably doesn't want to do right now. You know what I mean? Like, they're fucking last place. Like, you know, maybe let him skip that one. But Richie's got the Avs. Swish, who you got, fella? You're 4-1. Swish, stay hot. Shoot to get hot. Shoot to stay hot, as your old man says.
Fella, yeah, I like that pick with the Colorado Avalanche out of Richie, babe. That is still my favorite to win the Central if we date back to doing our preseason little update, Obi, at Missin Curfew. So I'm going to slide it out east. I'm going to go out to the nation's capital. I got the Caps over the Sabres. That is Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, and that is against the Buffalo Sabres. Look, Buffalo stinks. Lindy, I like it a little bit rough. I don't know. Is his time past him? Is he on the back nine? The Pagulas, Kevin Adams. That place is a dumpster fire. So I just think I watched them last night on Wednesday, and they look terrible against the New York Rangers, Pete Laviolette's team, who was also just in the shitter. So I just think, you know, for this game, the Caps at home against Buffalo, I mean, I'm not saying throw the goddamn farm on it, but maybe put a couple cows or a little cattle on it, because I just think the Caps are going to get this one done in the nation's capital.
Yeah, I like that too. I had some tough nights in the Verizon Center there in Washington. Just bad traffic getting to the game. Didn't like the hotel. Ovi was flying around. Backstrom throwing sauce. Fucking... Who was the Russian they had there, too? Kunetsov was buzzing around. It's just like, come on here.
Semin.
Hey, Semin. That's who I was thinking of. Thank you. That's who, not Kunetsov. Semin back in the day was just nasty. Like,
play his off wing. He was a righty, play on the left side. It was unbelievable. Could one time anything over the blue line. One of my favorites. Would never back check, too. That's why.
Ever.
Yeah. And then I'd always want to try and fight Jason Chimara, and he'd never fight me. I'm like, just fight me. Come on, let's go. I got to give Matt Bradley credit. He fought me the one night in there. I was like, I need one here. Someone give me one. Hey, someone give me one. And then they brought in that big DJ King, and I wanted no part of him. Remember him? Played in St. Louis?
Oh, I played with his brother, yeah.
Look
Big
out.
native.
Well, yeah.
Native.
I like those picks, boys. And last but not least, for the DraftKings lock of the week, I am going to take the Winnipeg Jets at home against Marty St. Louis and the Habs. Listen, Habs are playing better. Patrick Laine looks good. I like the way they're trending. However, going into Winnipeg, it's going to be cold. We've all played in that barn. Tough barn to play in. I like the Winnipeg Jets at home, boys. So get some skin in the game with DraftKings. Always gamble responsibly, obviously, boys. The Missin Curfew, dog of the week, boys. Speaking of Winnipeg, the Boston Bruins, who I gave Joe Sakic a blue light last week, 7-2 under him, 7-3 now after they lost in Winnipeg. But I got them to win the East, boys. I took them at the start of the year to win the East. They're starting to play better. A reason they're my dog of the week is they're getting pumped 8-1, and what do? They go out and get 3 fights. Frederick, Kaslik, Zadorov go out and get 3 fights back-to-back-to-back. Sakic's tripping the coach. I know it's new NHL, boys, but I don't give a fuck. A team, that's how we were when I played for the Anaheim Ducks. If we were down and out, we were going to fight our way out of the barn, as Getsy would say. So to the Boston Bruins, good on you. They're my Missin Curfew. Dog of the week, Richie. I just love that mentality of if we're going to lose, we're going down swinging.
Oh, that's old school hockey. And I gained a lot of respect for those guys doing that, because it's embarrassing getting beat like that.
Yeah.
So at least I show some fight, show some pride. It shows the coach, hey, we want this bad, and we're not going to let this stand. So I really liked it.
Yeah, and when you look at it from the other perspective, when I was on teams that we were kicking the shit out of teams, you'd go into the third period being like, how am I going to get out of here without getting in one? Right? So now, all right, you've kicked our ass, but we're gonna have some pride here, Jay Swish, and show you what we're made of. And for, like I said, a guy who's got some money on him, I just think that's good character and shows they got a lot of fight in that dressing room.
Oh, 100%. I remember my early days even playing in the jungle. with the Chicago Wolves, we playing guys like Mike Liambis on Milwaukee. It's like, okay, let's beat these guys, but let's not beat them too bad because it gets to 4-5-1 in those old school games, Obi. Now someone's getting run from behind. Now there's melee in front of the net. Now you're going to wear a few that you didn't want to wear. Like I had 1-1 already in this game. I'm already checked out. I'm actually at the restaurant already or at the bar we're at. And now these guys are running around and then going full criminal. So I did like that on both sides of the thing. And I just want to give a shout out to Tread Frederick. Oh my God, did he beat the bag off that David Gustafson? Did you see that punch he threw?
Yeah, that was just a short little right at the top, right on the button. Booyah.
Oh my God, did he drop him, dude?
Yeah, he's a tough kid.
Potatoes.
He's a tough kid. So
that was a
He
good
is a
right.
tough kid.
I also want to give some love in the Missin Curfew Dog of the Week. Vinny Trocheck got in a fight last night in Buffalo. Vinny's been playing hard. Richie, that's what I love about Troche. Undersized guy, competes, plays hard, and if push does come to shove, he will chuck him. They don't pay him to chuck him, but right now things aren't going well. He's a competitive guy. Troche, your Dog of the Week, in my opinion. I love that shit, Rich.
No, I do too. And especially when you're getting that out of your top, you're a guy in your top 6. For me, if I ever saw a guy in my top 6 fight, it gets you juice as, a third, fourth line guy. That's kind of your job. But to see a guy like that do it, it just gives you that extra, like, holy shit, boys, let's go here. So for me, it's a great, and that team has struggled and he showed a lot of pride there. He manned up and nothing better than seeing a guy do that.
Yeah, I love it, and your teammates love it. The fans love it. Any more dogs over there, boys?
I was just going to give one quick shout out to Craig Berube. He was just chirping the Nerd Biscuit media in Toronto there a little bit. He was calling them out, saying he drove to the rink in his truck today. They were bitching about how cold it was up there in Toronto, and Chief just looked at him and meat and mugged him. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. I drove today in a T-shirt over to the rink, and he was just kind of gave him a little smirk. So I love when Chief does that. He's a nail gun. Again, I played for him in Chicago in the minors as well as in St. Louis. So anytime Berube could just give it to the media, and especially up there in Canada, in Toronto, in the Mecca, I love it. So just keeping them honest, Obes.
Yeah, I love it. And let's tag that right there with keeping the media honest in Canada. We've all, me and Rich, we played there. I think you can use the media as a tool in Canada. I at certain times I used it what I thought helped me, and other times probably hurt me. But, I love Berube keeping those boys honest in Toronto. And obviously Rick Tocchet, talks after the game the other night. They lost against St. Louis in overtime. By the way, St. Louis is absolutely buzzing, boys. Monty's come in there and re-energized this whole squad. Holloway's flying around. Broberg looks like he looks like a Hedman almost. I'm going to say it. He's out there just like gliding around and big and long, and Binner's kicking. They're playing well, but they asked him about Petey, and you could see Tocchet had enough. And I haven't talked to Tocchet at all. I haven't reached out to him. But in my opinion, if you ask Rick Tocchet what the problem was there with them asking about him, is I still think there's more to Petey's game. I still think if you ask Rick Tocchet, Adam Foote, and the coaching staff that, he's putting up some points now. He's playing a little bit better. He's held the fort while JT Miller's out. But to me, Rich, and I've watched the Canucks a little bit here lately, Jake DeBrusk is playing unbelievable. When I watch Pettersson, I still think there's more to his game, and I think that's why Rick Tocchet's getting fed up with them asking him all the time, because I do believe there's more to Pettersson's game.
Yeah, and it's tough because you could tell he didn't want to talk about it again, but he kind of backpedaled a little bit on his answer. But he is making $11.5 million, so they do want to ask a guy that's getting paid that much why he's not playing at that kind of level. But for me, I got a chance to play with PD for 40 games or something, and this kid is elite when he wants to be. Yeah. He's got like a little bit of a torn motivator cuff. Some games where he just it's like you got to poke and prod him to get him going a little bit. It's man, he when he's on and he's engaged and he's reverse hitting guys and you can't get the puck off this kid when he wants to be that good. So that's why Tocc's frustrated, because Tocc's the kind of nose over the puck kind of guy, and that's how he wants Petey to play. So it's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. I just think the last thing on Toc too, and there's those rumors swirling around, whether they're true or not, about JT Miller and his absence and Petey's game being elevated a little bit. Is there a little bit of a tiff in terms of the locker room? Those guys maybe not seeing eye to eye or chin on chin, as I would say. But I think he just put that. Toc was just trying to put everything to bed and to rest. Be like, all right, just enough about Petey. Like, let's move on. Let's talk about different things. You guys ask me about this guy every fucking day of the week and twice on Sunday. Can we just move on? But he kind of did retract a little bit. He's like, you know what? I'll let him go. I'll give him a half pass here and try to, just be nice, because they do have a job to do at the end of the day, Opes.
Yeah, they do, and they will grind you down. And obviously, Toc's been in there last year, won the division, won the Jack Adams. Listen, they've had tons of injuries. Your boy Forbert's coming back. I believe he's playing tonight. They've been backed up. They've been banged up on the back end all year, and obviously up front. But to me, with JT Miller back tonight, you look at their lines here: DeBrus, Pedersen, Sherwood. Sherwood's been unbelievable. Rich, I know you love him. Hoglander, Miller, Besser, Joshua, Suter, Garland, and then their fourth line of Bluger, Denton, Heinen, and I don't know who this other kid is, but those are pretty good 9 forwards right there, Rich. Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
So
that's a solid lineup. I mean, it's just getting him back. Obviously, he's their basically their leader. JT kind of runs the dressing room there. He's that kind of guy for them. He's a heart and soul. So getting him back, I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's back. Looking forward to seeing them play. But just to touch on talk one more quick second is a couple of those guys in Vancouver. Always we've had them, Ian McIntyre and this Ben Guzman guy. Those kind of guys you want to grab. Those little pigeon media guys, but. Just got to say that because they do get under your skin. So, I'll let that go. But
no, they do. And the guy who asked the question was Farhan Lauji, TSN. Farhan, I like Farhan, but he asked it, and then Ben Kuzman tagged it, and not so much Farhan, but Ben Kuzman, who I think he respects me. I respect him, but I would say to him like, Ben, are you trying to make it harder on Louis? Are you trying to piss off the Twins, or like do you want us to win, or are you trying to make it harder for us to win? And they have a job to do, but in these Canadian markets at times, I don't think the job description is to make it harder on your team that you're covering. Be fair, ask the questions, but don't make it miserable or harder on these guys coming in here. That's not in their job description, in my opinion, Rich.
No, I'm with you, and that's exactly what they do a lot of times. And I know, again, they have a job to do. If something's going wrong, they got to call it out, but it just seems like this is your team too. Like, help the guys out, support them. It always seems a lot more negative, some of these guys, than it is positive, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and I would just to finish this story. Life without JT Miller has probably been hard on Talks, right? Swish, like this guy's the heartbeat of the team, heartbeat of the city. I talked on Tuesday. The fans are chanting his name. He's not even playing. Hopefully, he took care of what he had to take care of off the ice because this guy is the heart and soul of the Vancouver Canucks, and they will only go as far as JT Miller, in my opinion. I'm sure Talks has missed him and the whole coaching staff.
Yeah, 100%. Richie's obviously a guy that spent some time with him in the locker room. JT Miller is a 1993 product out of the USA. So I played with JT growing up a little bit in the summers and as well as on some of those U18, U20 teams coming up through the ranks. And he's a heart and soul guy. He's a guy in that locker room, Obi, that is old school. He'll hold guys accountable. He's not scared or shy of confrontation. You know what I mean? When you need to hold a guy accountable, maybe by default a little bit too much at times, he does it. And I just think locker rooms these days, it's so buddy-buddy, which is good. These kids have a lot of buddies on their own team, different teams. But if you want to win a Stanley Cup, at least from a guy that's never won one, I think you do have to have a little friction because it does make your team better. And if you can't handle that, Obi, I don't know if you're really going to win and become as close as you really need to win a mug. And we do have a guy sitting here that has won a mug, so he'd know more than me, but that's at least how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. And looking at this lineup, I would say they could use a little Brad Richardson on this fourth line. I mean, I guess Teddy Bluger has a little Richardson in him, but they could use a winger to me, not so much a center, because I like Teddy Bluger. He gets it done out there. But when I look at this team, especially come playoff times at the deadline, maybe a fourth line winger that, I know they don't grow on trees anymore out there, boys, but like someone that plays hard, that competes, that brings a little size. Like, one thing about that fourth line to me looks a little bit soft, Rich. A little bit soft and undersized.
I just pulled it up right now, and this Ratty kid is a first round pick. I think he was by the Islanders a couple years back. But to me, like, Bluger's a great little player, but he's not a guy it's hard to play against. He's good stick, he's smart, but he's not a heavy guy. Heinen is more of a scorer, and then Ratty's kind of a young kid that's still finding his way in the league. But I agree with you, Obes. They need a little bit more juice up there, a little bit more meat there. Someone can play, is physical.
Yeah,
if they want to go deep in the playoffs.
You know who would be perfect? They're not going to get him, but Lundberg. Lundberg would be perfect on that fourth line.
Lamborghini.
But somebody like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
But they're hard to find, man.
No, I know they are. That's why I tell young kids or people that are listening to playing junior, there's still a role for a guy that can play physical because there's not many guys left. You know what I mean?
If you can bring energy, like that's why I love the Sherwood so much, and that's why he was coveted this offseason so highly by teams because he brings juice. He's not overly physical, but he's on the puck. He's a hound dog. And, this kid was a kid that could barely find his way in the league for years. Now he's found that role where we can put him anywhere in the lineup. He's going to play the exact same way. But exactly what you just said, Opes, the kids need to understand there's a lot of different roles. And that role as a fourth line, left winger, right winger, centerman, that you can grind teams down, be physical, be that kind of leader. Teams want you really bad. Trust me.
Yeah, well said, boys. So, Talks, keep your head up. Media guys up there in Canada, leave the boys alone. It's a long season, eh? Especially in Vancouver right now. It's raining. December, January, February, it rains a lot. Leave Talks alone. He's a good man. So, Jay Swish, get this guy a Labatt Blue.
Presented by Labatt Blue Light, the pristine Pilsner. Enjoy your beers together so we can live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsible beer. Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York.
We're going to get to the beauties in Buffalo here. Get this guy a Labatt Blue. Your boy, Swish, AM34, the other night in New Jersey against his old coach. Just the speed to win that foot race, and then in tight, and the guy right on him against Markstrom in tight to lift it. Roof Richie, to me, was just unbelievable. Austin Matthews, get yourself a Labatt Blue. Richie, not a lot of guys in the league have that explosive speed, and then that touch in tight to roof it like that.
I mean, seeing this guy live in summer skate Swish, like I skated with him for 5 or 6 years. This kid in traffic is unbelievable. His hands and around the net, how quick he could elevate that puck. There's not many guys in this league, maybe a handful, that could do that with that kind of speed, that kind of power to put someone on your back, basically, and then have the a wherewithal not just to shove it into the goalie's chest, to actually get it upstairs. Obviously, we all know he's one of the best in the world, but it's seeing him day to day. I Swish in the summers was incredible to me. You can't get this puck off this guy. He can beat 3 guys through their feet any way you want it. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, just a prolific scorer. We all know that. The ways he could score, the amount of just different tricks he has in his bag, Obi, whether it's a backhand, it's a one-timer, it's a shot that'll beat you just inside the blue line, top of the circles, outside the dots. It's every which way. But the one thing, boys, that I think people don't really know unless you've skated with him or play with him, and Obi, is a testament just of a really good player. And it's a heavy bottom hand. You can't get the puck off him. When you have that heavy bottom hand all over the ice, and especially when he's lifting guys' sticks and takeaways, it's just like when you have that fucking heavy bottom hand, it just feels different when you play against him. And you go on a one-on-one with him, you get a little bit exposed, and it's just, boom, it's right off. So he's so strong on the puck, and he's just got those heavy hands, Opes.
Yeah, and talking about feeling different, you teed me right up. I was watching the game last week, and it was TSN and O-Dog. O-Dog looking lean, by the way. I don't know if you're on Ozempic or fucking what are you fasting or what are you doing, O-Dog, but he's looking lean. He's looking good. They asked him if this is a different Toronto Maple Leafs team, and he said it feels different this year. And O-Dog knows the team better than me, obviously, but from the games I've watched, I have watched them play quite a bit this year. I couldn't agree more. Feels different. They have a fourth line of size. They got depth down the middle. They brought in Tanev. They got Stoley, the goalie. I don't know. It feels different in Toronto. And with Matthew leading the charge, if he can stay healthy, it could be the year for the Leafs and T.O. For me, I'm going to keep dishing blue lights. Jake DeBrusk, a kid I absolutely loved in Boston, was fired up when he was signed with Talks and the Canucks. Got off to a slow start, but he's been great since JT Miller left. 3 goals, 9 assists. He had an unbelievable tip last night to get them a point against the St. Louis Blues. So Jake DeBrusk, get yourself a Labatt Blue fella. And then one more for me, boys. Friend of the show, Drake Batherson, great kid, had a hat trick last night. I hammered the Sens at minus 230 or whatever it was. I was a little worried. They outplayed them. And Bath had a hat trick. Brady Tkachuk was a beast. But where I wanted to parlay this in, boys, is Richie, that was a game where in previous years, the Ducks coming in, where I was still a little worried, but that was a game that they should have won, and they handled it with business, Richie. To me, that's a good sign for the Ottawa Senators. You got to win the games you're supposed to, and that's a game they were supposed to win. They took care of business, dominated, and they looked like a playoff team to me there.
Yeah, I didn't get to see. I just got to see some of the highlights this morning, but that team is one of those teams that needs to take that next step. And victories like this, when the ones you're supposed to win, are sometimes the hardest. But to do it on home ice, and it was a decisive, 5-1 win. But those are steps that a young team that's trying to get to that next level has to take, and that was a good sign for them.
Yeah, for sure, Obes. I just think, you look at a team like Ottawa, you look at a team, they're probably further down the road than a team like Buffalo, obviously. But I just think sometimes when you sign a lot of guys to big contracts, you have a team that has high expectations. So what are they missing there? Is it the younger guys aren't performing, some of them to the level that they need to be, or is it the back half of the lineup of some of the veterans in there? Or what are you looking at with Ottawa and Travis Green to ultimately go on a run that they need to maybe make a playoff push here, with the next 50-odd games left in the season?
I would still say their back end to me is unproven for fucking sure. With Shabbat, Sanderson, Nick Jensen, Travis Hamonick's been around, and then they got the two young kids, 5 and 6. Clavin, he doesn't have the best boots, but he's getting better. I watched this Clavin kid play a couple weeks ago, and I was like, he's in the wrong league. He should be playing in Belleville for the Senators. But the last couple of games I watched, he played pretty good. Up front, they're good, really good. This Timmy Stützle, this kid is absolutely flying. Absolutely flying. He had the puck on a stick the entire game last night. It's been like that the last couple weeks. And Brady Tkachuk was a fucking beast out there, boys. I mean, going to the front of the net, doing whatever he wants, getting pucks in, keeping pucks in, winning battles. I mean, he was by far the strongest guy out there, and he played like that. So, hey, Nicky Cousins was flying too. Noah Gregor was buzzing. They have enough depth up front, Swish, but to answer your question, if they are going to continue to hunt the playoffs, eventually they got to bring in a veteran D-man of some sort here.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you need good D right back there. And then I just think even a guy like Jake Sanderson, as much as I like his game, a North Dakota product, I do think his ceiling is going to be up there with the likes of some of the best in the league, boys. I really do, the way he can skate. I just don't think he's at the point of maybe being that true number one, just all-around D-man you need to win. But he'll get there, and like you said, Obi, they add something here. They're in the mix. They can kind of stay in the fight. Hopefully Perron can get back. I know he was dealing with some things off the sheet and get his game going, because that's another piece on the power play especially. Davey, unbelievable one-timer, that little curl and drag where he kind of sucks it into his feet and he can shoot it from that right dot, far side, spink, dink, and in, as you would say, Obi.
Yeah, exactly. And that just gives them more depth, right? Then you can bring Adam Gaudette back down to maybe the fourth line, or, you want to bring
13 goals, Obes.
Yeah.
Does he?
Gaudette's got 13 goals.
Wow.
Played last years in the minor.
I knew he was having a good year. He could shoot it. I watched him play in Vancouver. For Greener when Greener was coaching the Canucks. He can shoot it. I did not know he had 13 goals. But where I was going with that is you bring Perron back in there, and that gives you more depth. I think they have enough depth up front, boys. I really do, and they got obviously Allmark between the pipes. Can that back end, hold the middle and just keep them in hockey games? But they're playing well. Huge win for me. Jay Swish, you want a dish of blue light, fella?
Yeah, I was just going to give one to this kid that was traded this offseason for future considerations. Now, listen, I don't know if he drinks, Labatt Blue. I don't know if it's milk, whatever it is. I played with a little bit of – he came up through the St. Louis system, just a little bit with him in San Antonio and Chicago. But it's Jake Wallman, boys. He's got 4-16 for 20 points in 26 games. I mean, that's pretty good for a team in Man Jose. He's playing on the power play. It looks like he's having fun, and he's always had a booming wrist shot. He's always been, pretty good on his edges. He can skate at an elite level. So I look at Jake Wallman, and for going over to Man Jose for future considerations in 26 games into this season, you know what? Pretty good start, fella, because a lot of times, you get traded for a Subway 6-inch and a bag of pucks, Obi. Your confidence could be shot, but it looks like he's found a home there, and he's playing pretty good thus far. He's pretty cocky on the sheet, I would say, too. Some of the moves he's pulling, like last man back, trying to go triangle, it's like, uncle. I don't know if that's going to work the whole season, but right now it's working, baby.
Yeah. If it's a 6-inch, it's a double meat at least. At least get double meat on there, eh? Double meat.
Bacon.
It's a cold cut combo. We'll give you double. We'll add bacon, eh?
Yeah, I'll throw some bacon on there. Listen, the Man Jose Sharks are, they loan Will Smith out to Team USA for the World Juniors. I think that's smart for that kid. But listen, Kovalenko, he was starting to come with the Avs. We'll see. He's on a great spot now playing with Felabrini and your old teammate Tyler Toffoli. But listen, this team, because of their back end, because of Wallman, because of Cody Ceci, because of Littlegren and Jan Ruda, where if these guys were on Stanley Cup winning teams, they'd be 5-6 guys. But here, they give them 5-6 guys throughout the whole back end. You know what I'm saying, Rich? Like, these guys are probably not going to be up for the Norris, but these are legit NHL defensemen that make it easier on everybody night in and night out in the National League.
Well, yeah, and you need that on this in a young group too. Like bringing in like a guy like Ruda who's won a cup, and like you said, well, I haven't got a chance to see him play a ton, but he's a really good player, and he's a guy that seems like he just needed a chance, right?
Yeah,
kind of go do his thing. This one young kid is Maka Hamandulin. This little kid, you can keep an eye on this guy. He's a good player, first round pick for them, and I watched him play a lot last year. He's going to be a good little player for them.
Oh, the D-man.
Yeah, it's
the D-man.
Oh yeah,
I was wondering who that guy was.
Yeah, he's a big left shot defenseman, pretty skilled, pretty slick out there, but he's still young. But they have a good little thing turning around here. If they can get another high pick this year, they got some pretty good talent up front.
And then you guys know how I feel about Malcolm Celebrini, as Swish says. But I like watching the Man Jose Sharks play. They play with pace. They compete. We'll see how they're not an easy bet. I know that, boys. Don't be just betting against them because they do compete now at that back end. They can hang in some games. Rich, you want a dish of blue light?
I would love to, buddy. For me this week, get this guy a beer. One of the best, if not the best, power forward in the game, Mikko Rantanen. 18 goals now, but he had a hat trick the other night, and guy's just a beast out there. I mean, I love watching him play. There's just no stopping this guy. When he puts his ass out and controls it down low, you just can't do anything about it. So he's got great hands around the net, and just a hell of a player to, just love watching him play.
Yeah, and if he's like every other Finn, he loves a good goddamn blue light too, right? I mean, those boys, they just when they don't drink all the time, but when they drink, they drink. They don't just want to have 2; they want to have 30.
And they want to have a nice sauna too with the beer going. I love that.
Yeah, and listen, I said watch out for Finland in the Four Nations, and Mikko Rantanen's one of the reasons why. Him and Barkey, good luck down low, getting the biscuit off either one of those big Finns. And I mean, Rantanen's been unbelievable, and I need the Avs to get humming here. So, great job, boys. Get those boys on the bat blue. Last but not least here, before we get to our guest, Devan Dubnyk, it's rumor mill time here at Missin Curfew. Listen, Swish, I know you're going in for the Winter Classic. You got a big show with Hockey Night in Scottsdale. I'm kind of over these outdoor cold games, but what I'm not over is there's a rumor that next year there will be an outdoor game at the Lone Depot Park where the Miami Marlins play. So there's a roof on it. I'm pretty sure, 90% sure there's a roof on it. But to me, if you can open that roof somehow, Richie, you talked about the ice. But anyways, I like this. I like that we're going to have an outdoor game in South Florida. I'm glad I'm not in control of making the ice good. But I like this, Rich. Instead of going to the same old spots, and it helps because the Panthers are Stanley Cup champions, I love it. I want to go. If the game comes, I'm going to the game, baby.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I mean, I got to play in one outdoor game with the Canucks. We played at BC Place.
Oh, you did play in that game?
Yes, so we played against Ottawa. It was like whatever the winner, that's the Canadian version,
Heritage,
whatever it is,
the Heritage
Classic. To me, it was a fun event and the lead up to it, but the game was. It's so hard to play. It's such a foreign. The fans are so far away. You could barely hear them. It just felt like we were stuck out in the middle of nowhere, like a sore thumb or something. It was kind of weird for me. I didn't enjoy the game at all. I enjoyed the festivities around it, but the one in Miami is a little different. You're in Miami, but I worry about the ice conditions. And for me, I didn't really enjoy the game. So for me, it was like, well, whatever. I'm kind of over the outdoor games, but we'll see how this one turns out.
Yeah, I mean, it's something different. It's something unique. Obi, as long as it's not 75, 80 degrees and the sun is blaring on that ice and just beaming down, because, that could just ruin a whole day, right? I think they do have that park where it does have the retractable roof, so you do have a little bit of a emergency plug there if things go south, per se. But I think it would be cool. I don't know, in terms of South Florida, a ton of fans in and around the Miami area, but obviously in the Fort Lauderdale area and the people coming across the Panhandle in terms of, from Tampa Bay, it'll be a great little spot to do it. And you know what? Let's just make sure those teams, especially Tampa Bay, they're coming in the night before, maybe a day before or two, and they can stay and maybe enjoy a nice little, maybe the one hotel on South Beach, Obi, and then get that bus up to the game later that day or night.
Yeah, that's well said. And Rich, I'm with you. I've never played in the Winter Classic. I never had any desire to play, mainly because I wanted that New Year's Day off just to recover from my New Year's Eve. But they never seemed intriguing to me as a player. Because at the most of my career, I'd play around 20 minutes a night in Tampa and Colorado a little bit, but I was always 15 to 17. Whatever it may be. And now I'm thinking, now I'm playing 15 to 17. Now I'm sitting on a cold bench. Now I'm sitting out in the fucking freezing cold. The ice isn't good. The puck's bouncing. This is, to me, it's an NHL game. And as a player, I just wasn't like, oh, man, I really want to play in the Winter Classic. To me, as a player, it seemed like a nightmare, Rich.
Yeah, like I said, it was more for the fan. My family enjoyed it, and the fans, I think, enjoyed the experience. But even watching the games, the vantage point, from at least what I've seen, is you can't really see what's going on. It's like hockey's already hard enough to follow sometimes for fans that didn't grow up with the game. So it's not a great vantage point. I didn't enjoy the game at all. And the only thing I did enjoy from my experience was John Tortorella sitting out Roberto Luongo and starting Eddie Lack.
Yeah, he just couldn't
to stir it up. Couldn't help himself.
Couldn't help himself.
And then that was basically the end for Bobby Lou in Vancouver. But it was just like, Torts, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to get in.
Ownership's like, man, we've been trying to trade. We're trying to get Luongo to waive his no mood. Torts like, don't worry, I'll handle this for you. I'll scratch him for the Heritage Classic. He'll be so pissed he'll want out of town.
Oh, I've never seen Bobby so pissed off in my life, man. Holy shit.
I love Torts, but I mean, I guess I got him out of town. But you probably should have started Bobby Lou in that one. But for me, listen, selfishly, Fella Tour, we will be there if there's an outdoor game in South Florida. Bring your sticks, bring whatever else you need. We will be there. Florida Panthers, you mentioned it, Swiss. Either Tampa Bay, that's to me the Sunshine State Fuckfest, as Updog would say. Florida versus Tampa, or if you want to go East versus West, to me Florida maybe versus Vegas or something like that. Vegas's fans would travel to South Florida probably, but I just like the fair weather. I'm sick of the cold. I don't love it, but yeah, it is what it is.
I just think some of these outdoor games, ever since they brought them into the Winter Classic, they're losing a little bit of steam. So you try to get creative with it. If you remember that first one was Sid in Buffalo when he goes forehand, backhand in the snow and he tucks one in on the 5-hole. Like, that was what I love, those blue Pittsburgh jerseys. Or even, a few years later with Chris Chelios having his kid get him some beers while he's sitting on the bench and Babcock's bench. I'm like, that is cool. I think when it's at an iconic venue like Wrigley Field or maybe Fenway, I would like to play in that game. But if you're just doing some throwaway game up in Rochester, and we're going into Seattle to play, no disrespect to the good people of Seattle, but Obi, I'm with you. I want my New Year's off then. I need to play in that game in Seattle. I'm good, baby.
No.
I'm all set.
I'm all set. And then you sat back and there's always the Rose Bowl was on or something. You just hung cheese on the couch and you flip over the Winter Classic. I remember watching Loops out there. He cross-checked some guy right in the lips first shift. And Loops is out there just freezing at the big house. I'm like, let's see what's going on in the Rose Bowl game here. But speaking of getting creative, I love having you boys part of the squad. It's always fun getting creative with you boys. Next, we got Devan Dubnyk coming at you, fella. Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Updog, Richie, fella. This guy, Big Tendy. Big
Tendy. You know what? Big Tendies have those big 5 holes.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say something else.
I used to look at him in the net and be like, not that I was really a goal scorer, but I would look at this guy between the pipes and be like, I'm not squeezing one by this guy. I'm going to need a screen or hit a guy's pants. Or played over 500 games in the NHL. When I was checking his stats, that's an unbelievable accomplishment. He was an all-star. Did some stuff for NHL Network last year. But Devan Dubnyk, Doobie, thanks for joining us at Missin Curfew, fella.
Pleasure to be here. Been a big fan.
Yeah,
watching you guys.
Hey, so getting over 500 games for a goalie, like that's got to be a big milestone for you guys. Is that something when you started your career that you're like, if I could ever play over 500 games as a goalie, that would be like pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, I was. You know what's funny? I never really thought about it until all of a sudden somebody brought it up to me going into that year, and I looked at and I was like, oh shit, I'm going to break 500 games this year. And then they started pointing out that it's actually quite rare. And there's not a ton of goalies who've done it. And I started looking at it and it was actually, pretty proud of myself for getting there. I hadn't really thought of it. And the 500th game was certainly not a celebration by any means. There was, I didn't start the game and we were in San Jose and Stalock started and we were down 4-0 after the first period. And Bruce is like, dude, you're going. I'm like, oh, sweet 500th game. Yeah. And the worst part is I think I gave up 2, and then we scored 3 goals like right at the end of the game. So I soaked the loss. So they give you the big like silver stick, which is awesome. And then on the stick it says what your 500th game was, and it's like 500th game versus a San Jose Sharks 6-5 loss.
Did Bruce put you in between periods, or in San Jose did you have to get out of the corner by yourself, put your gear on, and come back in or did he at least wait till in between the periods for you? Because I always thought as a backup goalie there, that's the worst, right?
Yeah, and Carolina, same thing. Fortunately, they scored, well, not fortunately, but they scored too late, so it was in between periods, which makes a huge difference. But I remember the first time I played in Carolina that way, and it was 6 minutes into the game. I talked to the trainer. I sat down. It was my first year. I'd never been to Carolina. And I was like, man, this is tough over here. I feel like I'm sitting in the stands. This would be brutal if you had to go in. And they scored 4 goals in like the first 6 minutes. And I was like I'm like looking away. Like if I don't look at the bench, they can't, I can pretend like I didn't see them waving it over. They're over at the bench, like in there. Okay.
Yeah. What do you do to get warmed up for that when you're sitting there cold as ice?
I mean, in that situation, fortunately, it was 6 minutes in, so I hadn't been sitting there. It's the worst coming in like mid second period. It is such a weird, surreal kind of situation that you can't really explain, because you get on the ice and you feel awful because you warmed up and then you sat there. So you're stiff. You're trying to stretch. You have like 10 seconds. Everybody's just staring at you. The ref holding the puck in the air. Like, you ready? And like, no, I'm not ready, but go ahead.
Get a quick one stretch in.
Yeah, and the ice is all chewed up, and everybody's in the middle of the game. They're sweating. They've got the flow of the game, and and puck drops, and you're playing.
Hey, I liked in preseason where, the goalie would come in and you get 3 pucks and the guy can come out and lay them on your pillows. Like, I still think that should be allowed in a regular season game.
Yeah, just like a backup quarterback coming out and you're just chucking.
I actually think that they're considering that.
Yeah.
First word that they're considering optional if the goalie wants it or not to fire a couple pucks on them.
Yeah. So I like being that guy in preseason. I'm like, I got this. Hey, 3 pucks, just kind of lay it on.
I got it.
Here you go, man. Here you go.
But while we're on the topic, boys,
some coach will take advantage though, and he'll go in there and use it as a timeout, and then he'll take the guy out, he'll get a few shots, and then he'll be like, I changed my mind. Actually, we're just going to keep this guy in there. You got a free minute and a half timeout.
Coaches ruin everything.
I do have to tell this story because James Duthie from TSN, shout out, he's a beauty. He's writing a book, and he hit me on Twitter and was like, "Can you tell me about the time in Florida where Luongo got hurt, and then you guys put in the Cubano Al Montoya, and the first shift he got out there, Lou took one off the collarbone, and he's on his way to get X-rays at the hospital, right? So he's in his car, and he leaves his gear there, and then Montoya goes out." And just like we're saying, he should have had some shots, Doobie, because his first shift playing against the Leafs, he does the splits, pulls his groin. He cannot move his groin.
I remember this game.
So now the refs call our bench over, and they're like, "You guys got to put a guy in." And we're like, "Well, Lou's halfway to the airport, halfway to the hospital." So me and Derek McKenzie, we're paper rock scissoring in the room to put the pads on. And now it's TV timeout's already gone. They're now saying, "Guys, someone's got to go in." So they put Monty in, and he just stands there. And he doesn't take it.
He was like dragging his leg around.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Lying on one leg.
And so Mackenzie's got almost all the gear on, and Luongo had spun around and came back. And meanwhile, we're two of the 3 fourth line guys. And it became it was a joke. Like, I actually thought one of us was going to get a net. And this went on for like 15 minutes where I'm like, "Get the pads on." And then he's like, "You get the pads on." And so anyway, we paper, rock, scissored, and Luongo came back. But it was point night for the Leafs, by the way. They were like shooting from everywhere because Montoya could not stand up.
Yeah,
so anyway.
No E-bug goalie back then?
No, there wasn't an E-bug. Oh, no E-bug goalie.
I'll agree with that. Have been uppy if you could have got those pads on.
That's why, buddy. It was for the story. I know, Richie. I know, but
should have been Russian. That's a no situation. You could go out there and get 10 on you, and it wouldn't matter. Nobody would care. It would be just the story.
Hey, a lot of wild things I did do in my day, even going back to Kamloops, but being a goalie would have been one of them. But anyway, on to this. Being a backup goalie was not something you ever were used to. Your stretch in Minnesota, you played 67 games, 65, 60, 67. Talk about a workload. What's it like, playing that many games? Are you mad to not play, or are you excited for days off? Like, when a goalie's in that sort of realm, playing 70 games a year, what's that like? Bring us to that mindset.
Yeah, it's it's a play every night mentality. Really, you just expect to play every game. It's kind of weird when you don't. You think when you get some long stretches. I had 10, 12 game stretches of the year I got traded here. I played 37 in a row.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was a lot. But it's funny because you're like, oh, finally you get a day where they're like, it's a back-to-back eventually, and they're like, Kemps was our goalie at one point, and they're like, Kemps is going to play, and you're like, oh, okay, you think it's like, oh, it'd be nice to have a day or whatever, and then once you get to the rink, it's like, this is kind of boring. Like, I wish I was just playing, and so you'd always rather play. So that's why I enjoyed playing a lot of games, and it was a lot more fun. And 1 year, I played 12 or 13 games in a row, and so finally we got to Florida. We played Tampa the night before Florida, and Kemps is playing. And his second period, it's 3-2, and he lets in a shit burger like from the corner, just like one of those bad angle like on the ice beat him. It's 3-3 after the second period. I played 13 games in a row at this point. And I walk and get a coffee. In Florida, you got to go across to the change room. And I'm walking back with my pads half undone and a coffee in my hand. And Bruce walks by me and goes, "You're going in for the third." And I was like, "What? Like right now?" And he's like, "Yeah." He was all flustered, rattled at Kemps. And it didn't take him much to get mad at Kemps. Poor guy barely played. And so he's like, you can't expect him to be spot on when you get in once a month. So I'm like, I'm kind of pissed off now because I'm like, fuck you. Like, I just played 13 in a row. You give me one night off, you're going to throw me in a 3-3 game because you're
Yeah.
pissed off at a goal let in. So I go in there. Right off the puck drop, they dump it in, and I go out to play it, and it goes off my stick in front of the net, wide open tap in, 4-3.
That's on Bruce.
I was so mad. I'm like, suck on that, Bruce. No,
Good call, Bruce.
Good call. It was more like that. Yeah, good call, Bruce. Throw me in cold. We ended up I think we won 7-4 where we like stormed back, but it was just like 30 seconds in. I'm like, this is why you don't do that. But I love playing. It always seemed like a great idea to have a night off, but then you just feel like I'd rather be in there.
Yeah. Dubs, let me just follow up with those starts you just mentioned there. But I'm kind of curious now, there's always a debate with coaches and people, and what's the right number for goalies? If you're, a clear-cut number one, what do you think is kind of the perfect number for you, like for guys now in the modern day hockey?
I think statistics say that it's 55 or less. I remember this is going back where they looked at all the Stanley Cup winners and it was like a crazy stat on how many years in a row it had been the guy had played 55 or less. And with the talent out there now with the goalies, every team's trying to get the 1A, 1B type deal so that they can keep their goalie, because it's not just physically. It is physically as well, but I haven't gone on a deep playoff run. I got into the second round. But those years when you get into the first round even, and it's been a long haul. You've played 67 games, and now you got to go win 16, and it can be mentally and physically taxing. And so I think if you get the proper rest, both physically and mentally for the goalies, I think that 55 game mark is good, and that's why it's become so important for teams to have this 1A, 1B thing. I mean, Boston obviously fell into it with Swayman and Allmark. But you look at a lot of teams and they're looking to have a guy that they can be confident in playing enough games in the regular season, but then also not derailing the whole thing in playoffs if something were to happen.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, because I'm playing with Jonathan Quick. I think he touched 70 games a couple times, but those days seem to just be kind of tailing off, and I'm kind of curious if I just don't see guys playing those 70 games plus and winning cups anymore. It's just really tough, like you said, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, and Doobie, I wanted to tag about when I had two legit number one goalies, right? Lebrun Luongo and Pekka Rinne, and more Lou than Pex. But when Lou was getting a day off, he looked at you like, you boys better not fuck this up, right? Okay, I've played the last 3 weeks straight, and we lost one game, and we almost took pride in it, Doobie, where when our number one goalie wasn't in there, if it was Luongo or the next year with Pekka Rinne, boys, you want to play great for your backup, but you want to give your guy. You don't want to happen what happened to you where Lebrun Luongo had to go in the third period when he was ice cold. So we almost took pride in those two teams of not having our number one have to go back in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's huge for the other guy too, because it's such a tough situation for the backup to come in when you got a guy, legend like Lou or legend like Pekka. And that's not only is it hard to come in when you haven't played, but you're coming in and replacing a guy who's won 12 of 13.
Yeah.
And rolling, and you don't want to be the one to go in and take a loss. So you need the boys to play extra hard for you.
Well, how about one better? How about just give him the night off like it is and not have him dress and bring the third string in?
Yeah,
you
could do that.
Put anybody in there, and that's and boom, the guy gets a little taste of the National League. He gets a little paycheck.
Yeah.
And Luongo doesn't need to be even at the game. How about that? What I mean?
I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, it's a long. I don't think we're a long way away from it, but I even think having a third goalie as a practice goalie on the roster, obviously it would have to be somebody that played, maybe Div 1 college or played in the American League or played in the coast. Somebody who's a very capable goalie, maybe not an NHL goalie, and have them on a small salary as a practice goalie. And then maybe in those situations you can have them on the bench. I don't know. That would probably be the next step. But as a practice goalie, because when I played those 37 games in a row, the only reason I was able to do it was because when I got traded there, they still had Backstrom and Kemper. So we had 3 goalies and 3 NHL goalies. So between February and the middle of March, I practiced once or twice that wasn't a pregame skate. So every time, because they're playing every other day.
I like that.
I had some nice schedule.
But I had that ability because if it's optional and 3/4 of the guys go on the ice and there's 2 goalies, you feel like you have to go on the ice because Otherwise, you ruin the practice because the guys you got to shoot on an empty net or one net. So you always feel obligated to go out there. And I was fortunate enough that I never felt obligated because we had 2 goalies out there. And I think that guys would get more rest and feel like they didn't have to go on the ice if they had that third goalie position. And then you'd see guys would get hurt less and they'd be more mentally sharp. And I mean, I think it's crazy not to, but it doesn't seem like it's catching a whole lot of steam. But in the goalie world, we think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a little tricky.
It's the bullpen catcher, eh?
It is the
bullpen catcher. That's a good gig. Third string goalie in the National League where you're making like whatever. Let's say we call it $350 or something, right? You're not getting full salary, but you just go around. You got to take some high shots to the head, but other than that, it's not a bad gig.
But then, and to Doobie, to your point, and I think the whole realm of it all is it can't be the actual third best goalie. It can't be your third because he needs the shots. He needs to play. He needs to be in rhythm because God forbid Devan Dubnyk gets hurt. And then, the next goalie gets hurt. You need to be the guy, and you can't be just the third stringer that's just shooting pregame skate and like sitting eating hot dogs and popcorn up in the nosebleeds every game. But you do need a couple road trips.
You need a retired Devan Dubnyk, for example, to be the third string goalie. So when this guy first retires, like, hey, Doobie, we're going to pay you fucking $350 or whatever. You're going to be our third string goalie, and you're going to practice with the lads until you get too old and you can't practice. Then we're going to let you go.
Yeah,
I take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
At NHLP meetings, I remember they bringing this up a couple years ago. So it hasn't got any traction.
Not that I'm aware of. Just like Uppy said, though, it wouldn't be your third guy.
They call it somebody
be a kid that played Div 1 that never got a contract, or maybe retired minor league guy that's still in his late 20s, like still fit to play if there was emergency. But then if not taking a roster spot, and then if a goalie gets hurt, you bring up the guy from the American League. It's not like that guy would slide into the number 2 spot. He's just your practice practice goalie, emergency backup, and that's it. And I mean, you'd have a lineup around the block for guys who would sign up for that. No. I mean, you don't even need to give him $350. Give him $100,000. There'd be guys would do it for free probably.
Per diem on the road. Fly on the bird. Per diem on the road.
I just think it's great. I mean, I miss the game. I miss the rink, being at the rink. We talk about it and joke about it all the time. Like, I don't miss like getting healthy scratched and like, the feeling of like, getting ripped on. But I do miss like fucking bringing my gear, like, just being around. And what better job for
you
those
missed that
guys.
Bullpen you had too.
Yeah, I do miss the bullpen.
You had too. But.
Yeah, that it's long gone. Hey, Doobie, I want to ask you, man. Last week, a big play and a bunch of memes went around, but Charlie Lindgren, like fucking in a tight game, his team, obviously the Capitals are playing incredible, turns around on the top of the circle, rips the puck in his own net, and you could see almost the team be like, fuck it. Put it behind you. We're going to fucking go win this game. As a goalie, I'm sure that's never really happened to you other than the one you just kicked out in front of the net. But like, is that something, does a goalie, they can put that behind you and move on? Does it sting you? Like, I don't know. What's in the goalie's head when that sort of thing happens?
Well, just an awful feeling. It's like letting in a bouncer from the red line or something. I mean, it's just, and
that happened last week too. Fleury.
Yeah. Everything changes when you win the game, and that's why you look at that team that assuming they're a tight knit group, like they rallied for them, and they came back and won that game. And so you could actually see them when they were going to give Lindgren high fives at the end. They're all kind of chuckling about it, and so you get that, and it's very easy to forget about it, laugh about it, whatever, no big deal. Now you lose that game 4-3, then you got to be talking to the media after, thinking about it a little more. It's not that you can't put it behind you, but it's so easy to put it behind you when you come back and win the hockey game in regulation too, as opposed to losing the hockey game when that was the game-winning goal. So it was huge that they came back. But yeah, I would say you got to time your shitty goals and make sure that you win the hockey game, and then you can laugh them off.
Yeah, them winning made it funny. They lose, it's not funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's funny. Oh fuck! Hey, way to go there, Charlie boy! You threw the net. Fuck! Thank God.
You know what takes the
joke
cake?
About it for weeks.
Dinner on you tomorrow, bud. You owe the boys dinner for throwing that one in your own net.
Well, when Doobie too, that next save he made feels good too. That next big save is such a big one for confidence, probably too. I'm guessing.
At least,
yeah, exactly. And he's if you're having a good game too, it's just those are ones that they're almost better to give up on the road, because the whole crowd will be cheering and they'll be jeering you and giving you a hard time, and like that's what you expect. It's worse when it's at home, and I believe they were at home, because then it's like there's almost like this in the building, and everyone's like, you can hear everybody moaning and groaning. Yeah, you got 19,000 people being like, "What the hell was that guy just doing?"
Yeah,
and so I'd see you almost want to give up the bad ones on the road.
Boys, I got one better. At least there was
like a bad kill on the road.
At least there was a chance for Charlie to make another save in this case, because I was playing Obes minors. It's Milwaukee versus Cincinnati, Game 7 in Milwaukee, and Brian Finley lets in a goal from fucking the basic
Popper. Yeah,
Mark Popovic shoots it from the blue line, and he goes to just catch it, and it goes straight in with like 10 seconds left in a tie game.
7.
In a tie game, and like we just come into the room and we're just like, oh, and I can't imagine. And I know what it's like, because I was obviously, I was good buddies with Finner, a great guy, but he didn't have a chance to make another save in a game. Like he was, I mean, it ate him alive. It probably cost him his whole career, to be honest. But like, wow, that was
it was nice to be on the right end of that one.
Yeah.
It was nice to be on the right end. But even when I shook his hand in the lineup,
it was so bad. It was sad.
I think I even said, like, keep your head up, fella, or something. Like, hey, man. Like,
because it was a good series.
Yeah, great series, but it was a shitty way to end. But
yeah.
Doobie, I want to go back to your time in Edmonton, buddy. I played against those Oilers teams back in the day, like Hall, Eberle, whoever else they had, but I didn't like playing there because they didn't like to play a whole lot of defense, and maybe when you're the starting goaltender there and they don't like to play defense either. But how was your time there? How did you like being a number one goalie in the Canadian market? Because, like, we were talking about Bobby Lou. I witnessed the pressure of it. Did you enjoy your time in Edmonton? What was it like being a number one guy there? And those boys, they played some loose D on you some nights, fella.
Played a little loose D for sure for a few years, but I mean, I really enjoyed my time there. I grew up in Calgary, so I was I got family in Edmonton, so to be able to play not only close to home, but I mean with the Oilers franchise and everything, it was a dream. As hard of a time as it was there, it's still a special place for me. Started my career there, played a few years there. I grew there. We got our first boy there, so it's a special place, even though the wins certainly weren't piling up by any means. But it's pretty cool. I mean, even going back now, I went back and worked the finals and brought the family. And I mean, you walk through the building and like people don't forget. Like they treated me like I was some sort of like legend that won 4 Stanley Cup there in front of my kids, which is cool because then my kids got to think I was cool for a little bit. But yeah, it was some interesting times for sure. As a young guy too, like when I got to Minnesota was the first time that I learned what it felt like to expect to win a game. And then you start to do it every night and you're like, oh, this is the mindset you're supposed to have. Like you step on the ice and you expect to win. And I'd never done that up to that point in my career because I barely played in Nashville. And then in Arizona, we weren't very good either. So, and I was kind of playing with house money. So I hadn't really thought much about it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is what like good players do. They go out and they expect to win. In Edmonton, it was pure survival.
Yeah.
You step on the ice and you're hoping for like good statistics and not to get embarrassed. And that's just what it was. And you just get into that mindset and routine, and it's not a good one, but it's like survival mode to a point. And those guys, they were thrown in at like 18, 19, 20 years old on not with not a good support system around them at the time. There's just a lot of changes, a lot going on. I think they were handed ice time that wasn't necessarily earned. And when I look back on it, I think that it was a group that learned how to lose, it went on for so long that they had to get out of there. And they're all great players. Like I love seeing the guys thriving. Eds is doing great. Justin Schultz, Halsey, Nuge is still there. He's the only one that survived it. But it's nice to see because these guys are amazing hockey players, but they just got in this, lack of a better term, a bit of a toxic circle of all this change. And they're getting their ice time. They're getting their points regardless of they weren't learning how to win hockey games. They're just going out there and playing because they were talented and good enough to do it. But then all of a sudden losing becomes like not a big deal because it's almost like a survival mechanism where you can't let it be a big deal because you lose 3 out of 4 games and you go crazy. And then that's not and then eventually when you do try to turn it around, that mindset's already there. And it's almost like the guys need to change the scenery to have a chance to thrive, which they did.
Yeah. I mean, Oilers fans will always be thankful to you guys because that's the reason they got McDavid and Draisaitl too. So if it wasn't all those shitty years, Yeah, you're welcome. Same as in Colorado for Nathan McKinnon. You're welcome, boys, that we were so shitty that year. You got the Nate dog. But Doobie, I just want to tag it before I turn it to Richie. You know, now you see yourself, you went on to Minnesota, you're an all-star. Now you look at a guy like Stuart Skinner playing for the Oilers. Honestly, Doobie, he proved me wrong last year. The run he made to coming with it, one win of the Stanley Cup, I didn't think he could even do that. When you watch him play as a guy who played the position, do you believe in Stuart Skinner? Do you think he can win that one more game and get what the Edmonton Oilers fans deserve as a Stanley Cup?
I do. And I think everything that he went through last playoffs, look at the adversity he faced last year from the start of the season. Then they turn it around and they go off. And then in the playoffs, I mean, he lost the net in the playoffs to Pickard.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it got. And then he comes back in and he goes crazy and played awesome. And, I mean, it's a 2-1 hockey game. You get to a game 7, you can't define whether the guy won or lost the Stanley Cup by that. It's one hockey game he lost by a goal. He was one goal away from the Stanley Cup. And I think all of that adversity that he's faced, he's a young kid. I mean, what is this? This is his 3rd or 4th year. Like that's young. He's still a young kid, and the pressures of playing in Canada are crazy. And then on top of that, when you're playing with the offense that they have, if you're not winning games, it's immediately on the goaltender. Everybody looks at the goaltender. They don't dive into was Edmonton defensively sound? Did they play a good all around game? It's like they got 4 goals and they lost 5-4. Even Draisaitl, well, lots of guys, they look great on offense every night, but was it a good defensive game? And when they do play that way, and then those guys go off, he's great. But it's quick. Everybody's quick to jump on him because they're always going to have their goals out of their top guys. They're always going to have their points. So if they're not winning games, it's quick to get on him. But I think he's good. He's got all the tools, and all that adversity that he's dealt with is going to help him going forward.
Yeah, well said. Dude, just to jump to a different team here, and I know you live in this, Minnesota. This is a team for me that, I like their team a lot. I mean, they play a heavy kind of man's game, but I didn't see them being at the top of the league almost halfway through the year. And I just living there, and you probably watched them a little bit. What's your kind of take on them? Are they for real? Are they a cup contender to you? Because they kind of are to me. They've kind of really, really shown their true stuff here.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know if cup contender is there just yet. I think if they continue on this road, like throughout the season, I mean, there's always going to be bumps, but if they continue to play like they're playing into playoffs, absolutely, or even into later in the season. And I don't see a reason why they won't. I think everybody's a little bit surprised at how good they are. Maybe not them in the room. From the sounds of it, they're an extremely tight-knit group, and you can see the way they play on the ice together. And then they've got some young guys filling some big roles, which you need. I mean, they're in such a tough situation cap-wise that you almost expected maybe a little bit of a growth from last year, but not what they're doing now. But you watch them play, and there's no reason. They're getting great goaltending. They're getting great contributions up and down the lineup. So it doesn't look like a fluke by any means. And if they continue to play like this, you could certainly put them in that category.
Yeah, it's just a team. When I watch them at Kaprizov, they're just a fun team to watch, and they just play a heavy grinding game. And that the coach has done a great job there. Billy G's done a good job with the cap restrictions, and I'm just impressed.
Yeah, but did you guys see Jake Middleton's interview after when he said, "Hey, put a top titty
2x4, top titty 2x4,
This kid.
titty 2x4 on the loudspeakers in the rink with everybody still in there."
Yeah, he's a beauty. And I just want to tag that about Kirill the Thrill. I mean, listen, Elliot Friedman said earlier on the year that, he's going to get Draisaitl, make that money. And, I think he even mentioned McDavid in the same breath. But and at that time I was like, I don't know. And obviously I believe he's leading the league, or he's tied with Nashis. Living in Minnie and having a pulse to that city, is Billy Guerin almost, and I love Billy Guerin, he's one of my favorite GMs, but does he almost have to give this kid whatever he wants? Is there any way the city of Minneapolis and St. Paul would let this kid leave, or would the fans be like, come on, Billy G, you got to pay this guy?
I think they would go crazy.
Yeah.
This is just he's irreplaceable. And so it's like, what are you going to get? If you, whatever it is, I mean, first of all, they're going to have an absurd amount of cap space coming up here. So the money's there. And whatever that number is, you see the contracts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. If that number is 14, 15 million at the time, if that's the top guys, then that's what he's worth. That's the marketplace. And what are you going to do? Are you going to go sign a free agent for 10 and get half the production? Like, what you have to eat it. It's a generational guy that you cannot let go. Minnesota is an incredible place to play. But if you start lowballing them, and then all of a sudden these other teams get in their ear, teams with no state tax, maybe some warm weather, like, don't let him go. Don't let him even get to considering going. And I think, he obviously loves playing here, and it is an amazing place to play. We call this place home. But don't even let it get to the point that he considers getting out of here. Just give him what he wants, because he's worth it.
Yeah.
He's not a guy to mess around with.
Yeah, and then their goaltend, they've got good goaltending.
Gustafson's turned into a stud.
And he's back in the lineup tonight after a little stint. But yeah, he's Vezina caliber year, 20 games, 13-4-3. I mean, that's...
Yeah, let me just ask you about Gustafson. Do you think Fleury's been that big of a help to him? Because I love the way that Billy Guerin and the way they've handled this Gustafson. Because when he came in, they had Fleury, they didn't overwhelm him, and I just think having Flower there as a backup has helped this guy so much. Because when I watch the Wild play, and I've watched them play a lot, I love their team. I'm with Rich. This Gustafson looks as solid as anybody in the league right now, Doobie.
100%, and it's so big. I call it the security blanket. You got a guy. First of all, everybody knows how great of a guy Fleury is and how great of a teammate he is. So you have that side of it. But when it's a pressure market here. It's a huge hockey market, and you got a young guy who's trying to establish himself as a number one, and he can go out there and he can play freely, because he knows if he falters, and the entire team's season isn't necessarily riding on him, because you've got a legend on the bench behind you that's cheering you on. Flowers there now, he's comfortable in his role, great teammate, and so he can go play free, because he doesn't have to have that. Like, if I'm not in there playing, and I got a backup on the bench who can't play, all of a sudden there's all this pressure, and that's why I call it the security blanket. He's got a guy on the bench that makes him not have to worry about the things that aren't going to help him play, and I love the way he plays. It's crazy to me watching him for a guy that's not big at all. He's not a big guy. He plays so solid fundamentally. Like, he moves so smoothly. He plays a big body game. He plays a game that like a goalie my size would play, and covers the net. And I don't know how he does it, but he doesn't play a UC Saros type. And Saros is amazing, but he moves like a freak. Not everybody can do that. He plays fundamentally solid, and which is interesting for a guy his size.
Yeah, and I'm no goalie coach, but that's what I've noticed too. His rebound control is great. He always seems to be in the right position. And obviously, Doobie, we got the Four Nations coming up in February that, as ex-players, I'm sure you can throw yourself in that category. We're all excited about it. People are talking about Team USA's goaltending. People have kind of been bashing Team Canada's, but I think with two Stanley Cup champs with Binner and Aiden Hill. But what are your thoughts on the goaltending for both those countries, and how excited are you to watch these guys? And I guess, what's it like for a goalie in a short tournament? How do you get prepared for that kind of thing?
Yeah, because you got two Spanglers under your cup there. Yeah.
Those are real short term.
These Spangies, baby.
The World Championships, they can't really qualify as a short tournament because they're long.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting. I mean, it's just it's really who shows up, who comes together the quickest, even just line combinations and all that stuff, because there's really just no time to click or not click. But I mean, the U.S. has obviously got the names on paper, and it's a plethora of guys that aren't even on the team. So it's pretty impressive. The lineup of U.S. goalies, and gosh, I mean, you got three number ones on that team. So that'll be obviously Hellebuck's. I'm assuming the lead runner to play, but you got Swayman and Ottinger there. It's like, I don't know, you could put any one of them in there at any time, and they're one of the best goalies in the league. So yeah, it looks good, but then it's funny because everyone's been talking about the Team Canada goalies and like, it's not as solid as it used to be, and it's definitely not as deep as it used to be, but it's still, like you said, you got two Stanley Cup winners, Stanley Cup winners on a team, and people are like saying the goaltending is not good. Like, these guys are good goalies. They're just not. They just don't jump off the page like the other guys do. But these guys are still good goalies. They just won, and like relatively recently, Stanley Cups, and people are not happy about it. But I think they'll have to deal with that and deal with that pressure, because that's going to be there for sure. That's definitely an extra pressure for the Canadian guys. But I think there's more credit due there than people are given.
So, Dubes, how would you, like, if you're the coach of this team, how would you handle the goalies? Like, would you just kind of wait and see, like, who's hottest when you're coming into the tournament? Because I don't see a clear number one on the Canadian team. But would you play it like, that's how I would play it if I was coaching? Okay, who's the best goaltender playing right now in the NHL, and that's who I would start. Is that how you do it, or do you see a clear number one?
Yeah, I think you have to kind of pay attention to that, because of the shortness of the tournament, and the fact that these guys are not. The three of them aren't separated by a ton. Yeah. So you really got to be paying attention to what's happening with these three leading up to the tournament, almost right to before the tournament, and who's at the top of their game. Because when all the three of them are at the top of their game, then it's you pick and choose. But at some point in the season, if one guy's buzzing and one guy's not, then the decision becomes easy, because you are rolling in and you want the guy that's feeling good. And so that'll be interesting. It's something to keep an eye on is who's getting going right before it starts.
Or how about one guy that has that net as his net, like on a daily basis? I mean, fuck the Sam kid. It's his in Montreal.
Sam Montembeault.
Yeah, I mean, that's his home. He's like, he feels comfortable in there. Maybe if he's on a hot streak.
You want to go the young buck.
Maybe you fucking run with the little guy.
You want to go the guy full of piss and vinegar, eh?
Maybe
he wants to go the young Frenchie back in the
maybe
hometown.
Bitter and Aiden Hill are at the Chez Paris. I don't know.
Really put him in the pressure cooker. Hey, kid, get in there. Fucking Saturday night. Hey, just you see the shit running down his leg. I'm like, okay.
In that pressure cooker every night, so it might actually help. Like,
that is true. If you could be the number one goalie for Montreal Canadiens, then nothing. Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
He's a good goalie. He's no carry pro. I don't know if it. Coop, don't listen up. You don't throw him in there right off the fucking get go here.
Hey, listen.
I got one more before. Sorry, just as my
it.
last one, and then Updog, you can wrap it up for us. But I just got to ask you about goaltender interference, buddy, and. I'm missing Curfew. It all comes back to my gambling on games, and I've been getting screwed by it. But in all seriousness, as an ex-player, first of all, I blame the defense for not doing a better job of boxing out. I think it first starts on the defenseman. You got to clear that blue paint for your goalie. But as a guy who played the position at a high level, do you know what the rule is? Does it make you frustrated? Do you like it? I mean, for me, I think it's an opinion right now and not a rule, and it's just not consistent enough for me.
For me, and it always has been back to when I played. Is the consistency's not there, and that's why everybody gets so frustrated about it. And I don't know exactly who's in the room, but there's got to be more goalies involved in the decision making, and obviously you want the devil's advocate with some players in there as well, making those decisions, because goalies will tend to favor the interference side of it all the time. But the things you have to look at is. Obviously, is the goalie in his crease? He has to be in his crease. If the player gets pushed in by the defender, then that's not interference. And then you have to look at whether or not the amount of interference actually affected whether the goalie made the save or not. Because sometimes, like, you could look, if it's like a pass across, bang, bang, back of the net, and the guy sort of got interfered with, but really he's not stopping that puck, then then it's not interference. But only a goalie would know that, or vice versa. There might have been some interference. I don't know why this one sticks out to me, because this is a long time ago, but I remember maybe it was because it was playoffs, but Pecorine one time, he got completely interfered with, and it looked like he was sort of able to get back to where he needed to be, and then the shot came through a screen, and it like trickled through him. And they deemed that he had been able to get back to his position to play, which technically he did. But if you're a goalie and you watch that, he got back there, but the interference basically caused him to be in a rush to get back there and also be deep in his net, which eventually let the goal in. So there's so many things that go into it. But the lack of consistency is what frustrates everybody, and that's been that way for a long time. So I think they got to continue to work on the process. And maybe even be a little more transparent on why the calls happen. and maybe have a review and send out. It doesn't happen that often, so they could even just on the app or whatever, just put out an explanation of why it was or wasn't, and people would probably read it and disagree or agree, but at least they have something to go off of and not be wondering what happened.
That's a good point.
I would like an explanation.
Yeah, a little app.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on there?
Well, it's like a guy gets suspended, right? A guy gets suspended. They play out the video. They walk you through it. They explain why. Like, what if it doesn't happen that often? So why not do that? It take 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there should be a little goalie,
bottom line
goalie, ex-goalies committee, where it's on you guys.
Fuck, you see, we got
we can blame you fucking guys.
We're making more jobs. We're making more jobs for the goalies here. We got a third stringer now. Now we got a committee for them. What else? We keep it
We
rolling.
need a glue guy committee just to line up the places for the boys on the road.
Post career, I'm just trying to find a job. Just trying to plant the seeds.
Smart, but I think the bottom line is we got to go back to the old rules of cross-checking in front of the net. Fucking let's just
spearing the goalie in the nuts.
Let the players handle the goaltender interference, all right? Let's just start cross-checking again, up dog.
Doobie, one last thing for me, buddy. I'm looking at you got a nice man cave there. You're in Mini.
Is nice.
You got to have a good man cave basement when it gets cold, right? That's like standard. Is this where you're watching games? Is this where you're watching games and the little ones come down there watch some hockey with you? And then what's the story with the arcades there? You look like you're in a hot tub time machine, taking it back to my high school days.
We talked before. That was my back in the day. I won a bunch of money playing poker on the plane, and I always used to like spending the cash on something that I wouldn't necessarily go buy, and so it was a good one. And I walked in with an envelope in a Peter's Billiards here. Got all the arcade games, and I said, if I pay cash, will you give a good deal? And the guy looked at me kind of sideways, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, perfect. And I just put the envelope. It was like, I don't know, it was like $12,000. I just slapped it on the table. It was like Buck Hunter, Golden Tee, Bubble Hockey, the like touchscreen bar game. Massive delivery into the basement.
You become the coolest dad ever when you got a bunch of arcade games for the kids.
Yeah, but the thing is your kids get spoiled, so they're here. They barely even play them. But when their friends come over, they're like, whoa, and they're turning on everything and playing everything, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I got it for.
See, what the boys in your poker game didn't realize is you were WHL Scholastic Player of the Year when I played with you. So you got some tools up there in the shed, bud.
They're getting a little rusty, but they're up there somewhere.
You know what they say? Keep gambling, though. If you do keep gambling in poker games, it keeps your mind sharp.
That's right.
Stick to your roots. Doobie, listen, thanks for coming on, buddy. We appreciate it. You're welcome to come on and chat goalie stuff with us anytime you want.
My pleasure. Yeah.
But thanks for jumping on with the fellas, buddy.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, Doobie. We appreciate it, fella.
Yeah, my pleasure, boys. Good seeing you.
Welcome back to Missin Curfew, up dog, Richie fella. Thanks to Doobie, Devan Dubnyk. We got to do some stuff with him when he's at NHL Network, and I remember playing against him. And the first time I played against him, just how big he was. I was like, look at this big bastard in there. And we touched on the Oilers. They were playing the old run and gun. And some nights when I was in Van, he stood on his head to keep it close. And then he went to Mini, became an all-star. But that's the most I've got to really chat with him. Just a good dude. And he had a great career, over 500 games. He's all-star, won a lot of games, and played, what do you say, 30? How many straight did he say he played?
37 in a row.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Boys,
my groins are barking.
Listen, great comparison, by the way. Ask him about Edmonton and Stuart Skinner, because a lot alike, same Alberta boys playing for a team, in Canada, a lot of pressure. So I think it's a great comparison. I remember this kid was 16. I come back from the NHL. I think at one point, like he fucked his contacts up. And couldn't get him in, so he was in the net with his glasses on. It's hilarious. I'm just picturing this young kid. I'm looking at him. He's fucking 6'6", and I'm like, "You got your glasses on, buddy?" And he's like, "Yeah, my contacts are all fucked up." But listen, he was a good junior player. I'm happy to see the career he had. Never got to play with him. I'd always skate by him and just, "Hey, big boy, close up that 5-hole, fella." And I did get one on him though. I think maybe one or two, but. Anyway, thanks to Doobie for coming on. Always good to chat with a good goalie like that.
Yeah, it's always good to get that goalie insight, because as a forward or as a defenseman, you don't think about how the goalie's mindset that much. You know what I mean? You just make the fucking save. So but it's cool to see the other side of how they're thinking and what goes into it and the goalie interference stuff. It's just kind of fascinating to see it from their side. So it was great to have him on.
We're on a roll here at Missin Curfew. We got Razor, we got Devan Dubnyk. We're getting the goalies, but I'm the same as you. You're like, fuck, you should have had that one. Hey, should have had that one. Yeah. Okay, that was my mindset all the time. Fuck,
I had
Lou.
my guy.
Fuck, Lou, you should have had that one. But yeah, thank you to Devan Dubnyk, Updog, Richie Fell, love you boys. Thank you. Hall Pass Media, Kyle Conway, Ice Pick, Max Pickup. That was Missin Curfew.
Fellas.